Chapter 764, Breakthrough to the Mixed Element. Profound Venerable Immortal, what's wrong with him? The celestial spirit god gazed at the mysterious black-robed figure of the dark heavenly god, frowning as he asked. The other's posture seemed to be waiting for someone, which made him uneasy. One dark heavenly god already gave them a headache. If a few more appeared, how could they possibly withstand it? The other immortal gods did not answer him, equally perplexed by the situation. The Tai immortal monarch, with the highest cultivation level, looked in the direction the dark heavenly god was watching, but he saw nothing. Yet, his intuition told him that something was happening beyond the heavenly Tao. At this moment, not only them but those who were monitoring the presence of dark heavenly gods from various realms also realized that something unexpected might be occurring beyond the heavenly Tao. And in the celestial court, an unknown number of immortal gods were fixated on the chaos. The chaos was stirring an immensely terrifying great Tao storm, even affecting the edge of the celestial Tao destiny's domain, making the surrounding universes shimmer with multicolored light. Endless Tao Mountain. Atop each Tao mountain stood a great power, gazing at the chaos, the anomaly in the chaos capturing the attention of the entire heavenly Tao. And those powerful beings hidden within the chaos were also startled. The deep red fog approaching the heavenly Tao came to a halt. Within that vast red fog, massive figures seemed to rise and fall, looming indistinctly. No one knew what exactly was happening in the depths of the chaos, nor could anyone find the source. Underworld. On a barren land stood a colossal ancient tree, unmoved. This tree was the inheritance tree of the Nine Divine Mansion, known as the Profound Abyss Ancient Tree. Beneath the tree, a dozen people were meditating, their gazes all directed in the same direction. There is an anomaly in the chaos. Hongya said grimly. Having roamed the great Tao for so many years, he knew how terrifying the threat of the chaos could be. Gu An's avatar also frowned, seemingly as confused and uneasy about the unknown danger as the others. Hongya turned to Guan, lamenting, "It appears that not ascending to immortality has its benefits. At least we don't have to face the threats from the chaos." Guan shook his head, chuckled, and said, "Difficulties cannot be measured by cultivation level. Different realms face different challenges." "That's true, just the Son of Heaven alone could crush our misty immortal court." Hongya sighed, and the surrounding cultivators began to joke about the misty immortal court. Hongya did not get angry because he was the one who brought up the court's predicament, and the people around him were already good friends. Talking about the misty immortal court, their apprehensions dissipated. After all, the calamities of the chaos posed no threat to them. Although the celestial court was domineering, it never compromised in the face of the chaos threats, nor would it retreat, which was one of the reasons many beings aspired to the celestial court. This anomaly from the chaos persisted for 2 hours before everything returned to normal. When the celestial spirit god, Tai immortal monarch, and others saw the dark heavenly god fall back into the celestial spirit great world, they did not disperse. Instead, they continued to wait, in case more dark heavenly gods descended. In an unknown corner, Guan landed on a small island. Sunlight poured down, illuminating him, his body seemingly draped in resplendent radiance. He looked down at his body, expressionless, then pulled up his attribute panel to check. Name, Guan, lifespan, 13-060, 997/109, 822, 321, 049, 227, physique, primordial infinite creation Tao body, cultivation level, primordial profound venerable immortal realm mid-stage, primordial profound venerable immortal. This realm surpassed the Xian Qi primordial immortal. From achieving perfection in the Xian Qi primordial immortal realm to reaching the mid-stage of the primordial profound venerable immortal realm, he expended 1.9 trillion years of lifespan, now left with only 109 trillion years. CTH novel, F. Iyer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The results were remarkable. Guan now felt that the mana within his body was about to explode. If he wished, he could turn the 3,000 great worlds to dust in an instant. He could even disrupt the destiny of the heavenly Tao. This realm was incredibly powerful. Profound wisdom, what they spoke of as profound seemed to represent a power surpassing the primordial. Guan's primordial Tao fruit had already metamorphosed, beyond being measurable by mana. The primordial profound venerable immortal was terrifying. Even just the upheaval caused by breaking through was enough to throw the chaos into disorder, even attracting the attention of the heavenly Tao. During his breakthrough, Guan sensed many Xian Qi primordial immortals spying on him, with several auras coming from the celestial court. After successfully breaking through, Guan could encompass the entire heavenly Tao within his gaze. To all living beings, the boundless heavenly Tao appeared so trivial and insignificant to him now. The extreme power gave birth to an uncontrollable sense of supremacy within him, the so-called venerable immortal, sovereign over all things, standing above all immortals. Guan sat down to meditate, facing the sea, as the sea breeze blew his black hair. His gaze fell upon the celestial vault, traversing countless universes to lock onto that deep red fog. The deep red fog approaching the heavenly Tao was no longer mysterious to him. He suddenly felt an urge to unleash his might and fully assert his newfound pride. He decided to meditate for a few days and then venture into the deep red fog. After reaching the primordial profound venerable realm, the celestial court could no longer pressure Guan. Even the ethereal celestial emperor might be stronger than him, or some celestial Tao venerables might have reached such a realm, but he was not afraid. No realm had ever given Guan such enlightenment, seeing through all things, possessing the great divine power to destroy everything, making it impossible for him to convince himself that he was still weak. Thorough and genuine strength could pivot any Tao heart. Guan was striving hard to restrain this change in mentality. He withdrew his gaze, looking toward the end of the sea horizon, lost in thought. The sea wind fluttered his black robe and swept his hair strands. He didn't blink, his gaze was as serene as the vast ocean ahead. The sun gradually set, the twilight glow swept across Guan's face, and his expression remained unchanged from beginning to end. Sunset and moonrise. Days passed by. Gradually, silver lines appeared on Guan's left shoulder, intertwining and ultimately forming a white bird resembling an eagle. This bird had long feathers at the end of its tail, the feathers on the top of its head extended backward, displaying a faint multicolored hue. This white bird's pupils were gold and red. Although its size was not considerable, its figure appeared majestic, like a divine bird reborn into the world. This bird was the profound venerable spirit that Guan had condensed. It was a great divine power created by this realm, equivalent to an avatar. However, this avatar contained the same cultivation level as the primordial profound venerable immortal body, without independent consciousness, allowing its master to multitask with infinite wonders. The body could even revive endlessly through the profound venerable spirit. The profound venerable spirit could create worlds, act as the rules of heaven and earth, refine treasures, cultivate, all of which would benefit the main body. Even if Guan did not cultivate, as long as it cultivated, his cultivation level would continue to grow. And the profound venerable spirit was immortal. If destroyed, the main body needed only a thought to resurrect it. Both the body and the spirit could infinitely revive each other, supremely domineering. This truly paved the path to immortality. This made Guan think of the Tsangtian of the heavenly Tao. He suspected that the heavenly Tao was indeed created by an immensely strong entity, and the so-called Tsangtian was the manifestation of that entity's profound venerable spirit. From now on, you shall be called Wuxia Divine Sparrow. Guan murmured, speaking to himself. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 765, Heaven-Suppressing Endless Tower, Emperor Bone profound venerable in the chaos void, a swirling expanse of deep red mist billowed, reducing the meteors along its path to mere specks of dust. In the depths of the red mist, lightning weaved together. This place seemed to be the end of the abyss, with demonic shadows emerging incessantly and eerie illusions appearing, creating a bewildering and shocking scene. A magnificent colossal black tower stood in the heart of the mist. On closer inspection, it was a series of four-cornered palaces stacked atop each other. Each roof harbored terrifying entities, some resembling demons, some human-like and others indescribable, shrouded in obscurity. The interior of the black tower was a bright hall, the ground glittering like a galaxy. Massive stone pillars carved with mysterious patterns stood in a disorderly arrangement, resembling pillars supporting the sky, immovable. A white bird suddenly flew into the hall, its long tail feathers longer than its body, with its head faintly radiating a seven-colored halo, appearing majestic and brimming with celestial energy. Boom! A terrifying figure descended from the sky, towering 10,000 feet, entirely pitch black, its human-like form adorned with long, flowing hair that transformed into writhing serpents, flicking their tongues. His eyes were blood-red, exuding a fierce light, as an overwhelming aura erupted. Roar! A deafening roar resounded, shaking the heavens and the earth. This terrifying demon, towering 10,000 feet, appeared like a divine mountain before the white bird within the hall. The white bird stopped and suddenly transformed into a silver-glowing figure. It was Guan. Guan was utilizing the great Tao formless body to isolate causal investigations and control his own aura. He looked at the towering 10,000-foot demon ahead, needing no lifespan detection to see through its origins. Chaos Evil Demon, Great Anger Evil, Miaozhen Daluo Immortal Realm Cultivation. This black tower was called the Heaven-Suppressing Endless Tower, one of the supreme treasures of the Dark Heavenly Court. The Dark Heavenly Court belonged to the Dark God's forces. With Gu An's current cultivation level, he could see through the connection between the Dark Heavenly Court and the Heavenly Court. The Dark Heavenly Court originated from the Heavenly Tao but was severed from its destiny and reforged in the chaos, showing him the ancient contention for the Celestial Emperor of the Heavenly Court. The past of the Heavenly Tao was far more fascinating than Guan had previously imagined. However, the current history was not important. What Guan wanted was to exhibit the power of the mixed element profound venerable immortal. The beings within the heaven-suppressing endless tower were connected to the tower's destiny, much like immortal gods able to avoid true death through this connection. Unless the heaven-suppressing endless tower was destroyed, he could not completely annihilate these beings. He wanted this effect, not causing real sin, but allowing an outlet. Not going to the heavenly court was because he had no enmity with it, and he had disciples serving as immortal officials in the heavenly court, whereas the dark heavenly court would eventually clash with the heavenly Tao, potentially affecting the celestial spirit great world. Who are you? A thunderous shout burst out, resonating like rolling thunder, endlessly echoing. Guan raised his right hand, and the Cyan Hong sword appeared out of thin air. As the blade tilted, silver sword chi swirled around it, burning like flames. He stepped towards the towering Great Anger Evil. Seeing Guan not responding and directly attacking, Great Anger Evil was furious. He raised his right palm high and slammed it down. Instantly, grand Dharma aspects appeared around, countless flaming meteors emerged, sweeping towards Guan like a cosmic torrent. Sword light shone. The Dharma aspects shattered instantly, and Great Anger Evil disintegrated into ashes. Guan stepped forward, each step flashing a distance, swift like Jinghong. Numerous Chaos Evil demons descended to block the path ahead. Looking around, they were countless, covering the hall's end, and the patterns on the stone pillars came to life, manifesting terrifying figures. Guan did not stop, wielding the Cyan Hong sword, sweeping forward. Arrogant! How dare you break into the dark heavenly court, courting death? Stop him! Is he an immortal god from the heavenly Tao heavenly court? Voices filled with shock and anger echoed, but unfortunately, they received no response. They could only watch their companions turn to ash one after another, as the invincible silver sword light approached. Guan used the simplest sword techniques, but with absolute speed and power that none could resist. Even entities of the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal Realm in darkness couldn't withstand a single strike from him. These dark beings and chaos evil demons relied on the dark heavenly court's destiny, not truly dying. Though it didn't grant Guan lifespan, he reveled in the slaughter, venting the wrath brought by his immense power. S.E.A. the novel, F. Iyer. And a website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The heaven-suppressing endless tower, true to its name, possessed seemingly endless levels. Each level was connected by special spacetime DAOs, allowing continuous progression forward to ascend higher without flying upward. As Guan rampaged through the heaven-suppressing endless tower, he sensed an immense number of life forces pouring into the tower. The manifested beings were countless. Even after a short battle, millions of enemies had appeared ahead. Though Guan displayed formidable power, the beings of the dark heavenly court were fearless. Their immortality gave them the courage to face even the strongest foes. Sword light pressed forward relentlessly, reducing everything to ash. Guan advanced nimbly, his aura surpassing entities thousands of times larger than him. Be it Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals, Miaozhen Daluo Immortals, Heaven Opening Daluo Immortals, Innate Golden Immortals, Heaven Balancing Golden Immortals, or Tai Ching Golden Immortals, all were reduced to nothingness upon contact with him. A terrifying roar echoed as the resurrected Great Anger Evil leapt over countless dark beings and chaos evil demons towards Guan, utterly enraged, feeling humiliated by Guan. Innumerable divine skills, Dharma aspects, and great Taoist techniques burst forth but were shattered like illusions before Guan's eyes with a single slash. The resurrected dark beings and chaos evil demons rejoined the fight repeatedly, fearless of death. The more they killed, the crazier they grew, their rage and murderous intent surging. Meanwhile, at the top of the heaven-suppressing endless tower was a dim hall, where the only light came from the silver-blue radiance emitted by two stone pillars in front of the steps. Above the steps sat a huge stone chair, embedded with dozens of magical treasures, banners waving, swords refracting light, and long sashes writhing like dragons and serpents. On the stone chair sat a skeleton wearing a dragon head golden crown, adorned with bead curtains, with a golden long spear standing before it. The spearhead emerged from a Qilin head, and the spear's body was covered in golden scales, though these scales were tainted by a mysterious black substance, as if being devoured. He was the supreme of the dark heavenly court, Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. Suddenly, a pair of cold eyes opened beneath the eye sockets of Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's skull, like an ancient fiend awakening from countless years of slumber, bringing boundless killing intent, enough to sweep across the all heavens and myriad realms. How many years has it been, finally, someone dares to intrude into my heaven-suppressing endless tower, wishing to shake the dark heavenly court with their own strength. Junior, you are too arrogant. An ancient and majestic voice echoed through the dim hall. As the words fell, the darkness seemed to stir with a dance of demons, making the hall suddenly lively. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 766, Reminiscence of Demon Slaying. The voice of the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable passed through layers of palaces, falling into Guan's ears, and also reached the dark creatures and chaotic demons pushing forward in waves. Their morale surged, and their roars became even more clamorous. Guan remained unmoved, continuing to kill his way forward. The person shining with silver light all over appeared filled with killing intent, but in fact, he had already closed his eyes. With every swing of his sword, old memories emerged. In his youth, beside the medicine garden, Zhang Chuanxiu taught him and Meng Lang swordsmanship. Though it was a very ordinary swordsmanship, he and Meng Lang practiced it earnestly. The scene shifted, and he found himself in the forest, receiving sword guidance from Leah. The wind blew, and the scene in the forest suddenly changed to a memory of him instructing Su Han. Flashes of the past continually appeared in Guan's mind, his sword growing faster, as if he wanted to sever the past. Crash! The ground of the palace ahead suddenly shattered, a giant dragon head as large as a mountain burst out, swallowing towards Guan. Along the way, many dark creatures and chaotic demons were swallowed by it. A flash of sword light. The dragon head shattered, and Guan transformed into a silver sword light, sweeping through the enemy ranks, killing his way into the 1,000-strong army. Wherever he went, no immortal or demon could stand in his way. The road ahead had no end. No matter how far he killed, he couldn't see the palace walls. As time passed, enemies also appeared behind and on both sides of Guan. He seemed to be in a vast black ocean, raising a magnificent straight line of seawater, vowing to split this ocean in half. Battle, extinction, resurrection, battle, re-extinction, re-resurrection, battle again. The dark creatures and chaotic demons continually repeated this cycle. At the edge of the black ocean, a figure appeared out of nowhere. It was the true form of Yuan Luo. After the destruction of the Qinkuan sect, Yuan Luo recovered his memory and learned that the struggle for the Son of Heaven was imminent. He thus escaped the range of the heavenly Tao. Recently, he returned to the dark heavenly court, his true form a chaos grudge Luo, which allowed him to easily join the dark heavenly court. He planned to make a comeback during the descent of the dark heavenly court upon the heavenly Tao, sweeping across the celestial spirit great world. The chaos grudge Luo had once brought disaster to the 3,000 great worlds, but his true form within the dark heavenly court counted as nothing. In this heaven-suppressing endless tower, he appeared insignificant. How is this possible? Yuan Luo's eyes widened in horror as he looked towards the distant silver sword light. He had lived for countless years, yet this was the first time he had witnessed such a scene. This was the heaven-suppressing endless tower of the dark heavenly court. In all his years, he had neither seen nor heard of anyone daring to breach it alone. He couldn't see the true form of the other person clearly. The more he couldn't see, the more uneasy he felt. The opponent gave him a sense of resolute determination. He gritted his teeth and immediately charged forward. Crossing the vast black ocean, a silver sword light illuminated his face, causing him to widen his eyes, reflecting the image of a sword in them. Boom! With a single sword strike, thousands of demons were obliterated without the slightest ability to resist. Guan didn't look back, nor did he deviate in direction, continuing straight ahead. Though it seemed like he was on the same level, he was actually rapidly ascending the heaven-suppressing endless tower. From the outside, the bottom of the heaven-suppressing endless tower shone with sword light. This sword light flashed and quickly ascended to a higher level. At a glance, the sword light seemed to spiral around the heaven-suppressing endless tower, rapidly charging upward. The dark cloud surrounding the heaven-suppressing endless tower surged violently. Tao's spiritual chi flowed, lightning intertwined, reflecting the colorful Tao light of the Tao world continuously changing, highlighting the tense atmosphere inside the tower. At the top palace of the heaven-suppressing endless tower, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable slowly stood up. Though he was a skeleton, he exuded an overpowering, sovereign aura. One figure after another appeared out of nowhere before the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, all with an aura surpassing even the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal. A total of 9, all Xian Qi primordial immortals. Lord, the opponent is a primordial profound venerable immortal. Do you know which celestial Tao venerable he is? Among the celestial Tao venerables who could be primordial profound venerable immortals, there are only a few, no need to guess. Anyway, they are already our enemies. Could the opponent be coming because of the recent chaos anomalies? Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Possible, the Celestial Court might think that we caused the anomalies. In my opinion, the Celestial Court may want to take advantage while we are unprepared. The 9 Xian Qi primordial immortals discussed, their tones full of hostility towards the Celestial Court. The Emperor Bone Profound Venerable calmly said, if it were those few celestial Tao venerables, they wouldn't hide their true form. Moreover, there is no celestial Tao destiny on this person, he only comes from the heavenly Tao. Upon hearing this, the 9 Xian Qi primordial immortals quieted down, each lost in thought. Just then, the dim palace began to tremble slightly, signaling that Guan was getting closer. Let's go, we should also meet him and try to force out his divine skills. A Xian Qi primordial immortal spoke, his figure burly, with 3 heads and 6 arms, a pair of massive wings on his back that covered the sky when spread. As his voice fell, all 9 Xian Qi primordial immortals disappeared on the spot along with him. The Emperor Bone Profound Venerable stood before his throne, watching quietly, the eyes within his eye sockets growing colder, reflecting Guan's invincible figure. The support speed of the Xian Qi primordial immortals was extremely fast. In almost an instant, the 9 Xian Qi primordial immortals appeared above Guan's head. They formed a formation with such speed that other dark creatures and chaotic demons had no time to react. A black light pillar entwined with lightning descended from the sky, crushing Guan. As soon as the black light pillar engulfed Guan, he slashed out with a sword, unaffected in speed. Instead, the 9 Xian Qi primordial immortals were hurled away, showing expressions of disbelief. They knew they were no match for a primordial profound venerable immortal, but for the opponent to cut through their combined formation with just a casual sword strike, without even using divine skills, was too absurd. Audacious. A Xian Qi primordial immortal descended from the sky, crushing hundreds of chaotic demons, wielding a black blade. With a slash, carrying the terrifying power of cause and effect, the space in front of Guan suddenly shifted, and illusions of myriad worlds rushed towards him. In an instant, countless demons surged from these worlds, all formed from the power of the great Tao, each emitting a presence surpassing that of a golden immortal. Guan remained unaffected, his figure lunging forward, Cyan Hong's sword slashing ahead, cleaving billions of demons, and worlds shattered before him like dazzling fireworks. The Xian Qi primordial immortal widened his eyes, yet before he could speak, Guan flashed before him, slicing him in half, and immediately, the two halves disintegrated into flying ash. In front of Guan, he was no different from the other dark creatures and chaotic demons. The other 8 Xian Qi primordial immortals attacked one after another, but all fell to Gu An's single strike. Gu An's thoughts were still immersed in memories. This battle was both an outlet for his powerful impulses and a way for him to cultivate his heart. The swelling of his Tao heart made him feel it was not a good sign. He needed to wake up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 767. The calmed Guan Yuan Luo could no longer remember how many times he had died. Each time he resurrected, he would throw himself into the battle once again, only to die again. Within the heaven-suppressing endless tower, every being was fighting desperately. This formed a powerful will and momentum that swept him along, unable to escape. He could only feel that his deaths were coming faster and faster, because the enemies were getting closer to their resurrection point. After so many kills, Yuan Luo had become numb. It wasn't just him. Many dark creatures and chaos evil demons had also become dazed. The shouts and roars within the tower grew weaker and weaker. Guan was still fighting his way toward the top of the heaven-suppressing endless tower. Even if he could resurrect continually, the endless cycle of death would still wear down morale. Even those Xian Qi primordial immortals and Dao extreme Daluo immortals had fallen silent. They no longer had the strength to jeer or curse. They knew they couldn't stop Guan. What they had to do was to show their stance and keep fighting until the Lord gave the order. Looking from the outside, Guan had already fought his way to the middle part of the heaven-suppressing endless tower, still advancing upward rapidly. His pace remained constant, regardless of the number of enemies or their morale. It did not affect him. Time flew by quickly. Guan was getting closer and closer to the top. The vast black ocean he traversed still seemed boundless, but this black ocean had become oppressive. Many dark creatures and chaos evil demons no longer used their divine skills. Instead, they launched themselves at him, waiting to be slaughtered. After a long time. Finally, at the far end of the great hall appeared a black domain, like a black wall. When Guan was within 10,000 miles of the black wall, some dark creatures and chaos evil demons began to slow their steps. When Guan arrived in front of the black wall, no creatures dared to come near him. He did not pause. With a single strike, he shattered the black wall. CTH Novelfire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. All the dark creatures and chaos evil demons stopped, staring blankly at Gu An's back. As the black wall shattered, a dim great hall appeared in front. Countless dark creatures and chaos evil demons knelt together, creating an incredibly magnificent scene, like surging tides. They were all worshipping the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. At the end of the dim great hall, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable stood on the steps, coldly staring at Guan. After stepping into the dim great hall, Guan stopped. In the silver sword light, he opened a pair of golden red eyes. It was the Absolute Void Eye. Seeing the Absolute Void Eye, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's gaze changed subtly. What kind of eyes are these? It was the first time he had seen these eyes, which inexplicably reminded him of the immortal emperor's eye, but the immortal emperor's eye did not give him such a strong sense of oppression. Although they were both primordial profound venerable immortals, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable felt that he might not be the opponent of Guan with the absolute void eye opened. Junior, you are not an immortal of the celestial court. Your killing intent is fading. Why have you come? The Emperor Bone Profound Venerable asked calmly. His composure also reassured his billions of subordinates. Countless dark creatures and chaos evil demons stood outside the hall, watching the confrontation between him and Guan. At this moment, no one dared to shout. They all held their breath, waiting for the battle that could erupt at any moment. Guan raised the Cyan Hong sword, pointing it at the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. The silver sword light did not fully cover his figure. It was clear that his robe was fluttering, fully displaying the demeanor of a sword immortal. No, he couldn't be described as an immortal. All the creatures of the dark heavenly court side looked at Guan with eyes full of fear and dread. Even now, they did not dare to be certain that the Lord could surely defeat this person. Seeing Guan's lifted sword, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's eyes narrowed. His white bones began to ignite with black flames, which quickly covered his skeleton, forming a black battle armor with surface scales reflecting a metallic cold light. Strands of black chi symbolizing the great Tao circled around the armor. Guan took a step toward the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. With each step, his momentum burst forth, rising higher and higher, causing all the creatures outside the hall to change their expressions. Regarding the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's question, Guan heard it but was too lazy to answer. Having fought to this point, naturally he intended to strike down the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. Of course, he wouldn't destroy the heaven-suppressing endless tower. He was just here to vent. If he could delay the heaven-suppressing endless tower's descent upon the heavenly Tao, he considered it a service to the beings of the heavenly Tao. The Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's eyes narrowed, and the billowing black chi expanded abruptly, altering the hall's space. Instantly, the two were transported to a dark void. Here, apart from them, nothing else existed. The black chi on the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable rapidly condensed into a long halberd. This was not his magical treasure but his profound venerable spirit. Grasping the profound venerable spirit, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's momentum reached its peak. He was a true primordial profound venerable immortal. An earth-shattering battle was about to erupt. The sunset cast a golden hue over the Taoist field of the beginningless. In the courtyard, an Xian stood behind Shenzhen, facing away from her. She looked up at the celestial vault with furrowed brows, deep in thought, her eyes filled with worry. You're not worried about your master, are you? Sitting in meditation in front of the artifact refining cauldron, Shenzhen asked. Her eyes remained closed, and there was a teasing tone in her voice. An Xian replied, It's not about fearing for his safety. It's just he's been gone for several days. I worry the dark god might seize the chance to descend upon the human world. With his power surpassing the immortal gods, slaughtering the entire human world might take just a blink of an eye. Shenzhen shook her head and laughed softly. If the dark god wanted to annihilate all living beings, why would he spread the scriptures of the dark divine sect? Hearing this, an Xian felt it made sense. But over the years, she had learned too much about the deeds of the dark divine sect, causing her unease. She always felt that the dark god was different from the previous enemies of the world, and he could bring unimaginable calamity. Moreover, with her master suddenly disappearing for several days, she couldn't help but worry. Indeed, the dark divine sect won't massacre all living beings. You can rest assured. A light laugh sounded, startling an Xian. She turned to see Guan, dressed in white, walking into the courtyard. An Xian was overjoyed and then sighed in relief. She stepped forward, greeting Guan, and curiously asked, Master, where have you been these past few days? Guan smiled, It's a long story. I went to spar with the ancestor of the dark god's ancestor, warned him that if they dared to cause trouble, I would annihilate their Taoist lineage. He spoke casually, very unserious, making an Xian think he was joking, so she couldn't help but roll her eyes at him. Master, even if you wouldn't intervene, can you tell me, what is the Dark God's realm? An Exean asked curiously. The Dark Heavenly God was already more powerful than the immortal gods. How strong must the Dark God, who surpassed the Dark Heavenly God, be? Guan replied, many realms higher than the celestial spirit God. Not to mention their celestial spirit great world, even in the 3,000 great worlds, there aren't many who can match him. As he spoke, he reminisced about the battle with the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. After sparring with other primordial profound venerable immortals, his inflated Tao heart finally stabilized. He was very strong, but not enough. After all, if he wanted to completely kill the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, it would still take a lot of effort. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 768. In the battle with Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, it seemed like Guan had won, but the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable had countless ways to escape. If it were a life-and-death struggle and the enemy escaped, how could it be considered a victory? Moreover, the heaven-suppressing Endless Tower was only a part of the Dark Heavenly Court, the elite force dispatched by the Dark Heavenly Court to the Heavenly Tao. Destroying the heaven-suppressing Endless Tower did not mean destroying the Dark Heavenly Court, it could only result in greater enmity. Recalling the previous battle, Guan grew increasingly vigilant. He realized he had been too careless. Relying on the great Tao formless body and his own strength, he had rashly infiltrated the enemy's stronghold. This time it was satisfying, but he shouldn't do it again in the future. Guan warned himself thus. An Exean asked a few more questions about the Dark God. Only after she was completely reassured did she leave. Guan did not return to the house but sat on a bench in the courtyard. He raised his right hand, and the Wuxia Divine Sparrow appeared at his fingertips. Shenzhen turned his head to look at him, just in time to see him admiring the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. What kind of bird is this? It's so handsome. Shenzhen couldn't help but ask. Guan threw the Wuxia Divine Sparrow towards her and introduced, from now on, call it the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. It's a kind of strange bird I found outside. He concealed the origins of the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. It wasn't due to any specific intention, he simply found it amusing. Shenzhen caught the Wuxia Divine Sparrow, which tilted its head and started to nuzzle her face, making her love it even more. Sarthanaphire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After playing with it for a while, she couldn't help but start touching it. She held the Wuxia Divine Sparrow and began to examine it, even prying open its legs. Guan, is it a male or a female? Shenzhen's question made the corner of Guan's mouth twitch. He quickly said, this is a spirit bird, born of the creation of heaven and earth, without distinction of male or female. Don't be too disrespectful to it. Guan felt very uncomfortable seeing her reach under the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. Spirit bird? Shenzhen responded, continuing to fiddle with the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. As night gradually fell, the Taoist field of the beginningless remained calm, and the 9-spirit continent looked the same as always, with spots of starlight appearing under the night sky. Those were the lights of human settlements within the cities, and the majestic world gate stood unmoving, as if aiming to pierce the outer heaven. Compared to it, all things seemed insignificant. The 9-spirit continent, and indeed the entire world, seemed very peaceful that night. No one knew that the world's mightiest being had just ascended to a higher level, gaining the power to overturn everything. In the chaos void, deep red fog was surging, and the heaven-suppressing endless tower inside showed no signs of change. In the dim palace at the top, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable sat on the throne as a skeleton, eyes icy cold. 9 Xian Qi primordial immortals stood in a row, their faces extremely grim. Although Guan had left, the scenes of the previous battle constantly replayed in their minds, weighing heavily on their hearts. Their greatest pride was shattered by the Lord's humiliating defeat, leaving them disoriented. Was this journey to the heavenly Tao truly destined for success? Would it be a one-way trip with no return? The Emperor Bone Profound Venerable was equally disturbed, his mind occupied by Guan's piercing eyes. Shrouded by those eyes, all of the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's divine skills seemed insignificant. It had been a complete and utter defeat, with no chance of victory. Was it an illusion, or did the opponent truly have the power to annihilate him? Moreover, could his opponent possibly extinguish the dark fortune of the Dark Heavenly Court? This thought made him increasingly uneasy. The palace was utterly silent, oppressively so. For a long time. One of the Xian-Qi primordial immortals could not help but ask, "Lord, do we still proceed to the heavenly Tao?" The Emperor Bone Profound Venerable replied, "The other party should have no connection with the celestial court. Our hatred with the celestial court is irreconcilable, and he couldn't have shown mercy. Perhaps he came because of other matters, possibly due to some dark heavenly god offending him. In any case, the journey to the heavenly Tao cannot be halted, but we can slow our pace. I will discuss this with His Majesty." Hearing this, the Xian-Qi primordial immortals all breathed a sigh of relief. Though they were immortal, they felt genuinely threatened by Guan. They didn't want to gamble with their lives, a more cautious approach was naturally preferable. "You all should go and rest for now," the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable ordered, and the 9 Xian-Qi primordial immortals immediately saluted and then vanished from sight. After they left, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable coughed a few times, raised a skeletal hand to clutch his chest, and muttered to himself, "What kind of palm technique is that, so domineering?" No one could answer him, and he didn't want to know the answer. After a while, he too disappeared from the throne. The battle between Guan and Emperor Bone Profound Venerable did not affect the destiny of the Great Thousand World, as the heaven-suppressing Endless Tower had not yet dissipated. The Dark God immediately stood within the void of the Great Tao, overlooking the celestial spirit Great World, while other dark heavenly gods in the Great Thousand World continued to preach and enlighten immortals. Not to mention other Great Thousand Worlds, the number of dark beings in the celestial spirit Great World continued to increase, all tainted by the dark fortune. The dark divine sect's influence was growing steadily. 3,000 years later, the dark divine sect had become a formidable major sect in the human world, with a dark being count exceeding 10 million, evolving into a colossal force. The various sects of the world began to put aside their grudges to unite against the dark divine sect. Wushiji disciples also emerged to save those suffering beings. Once infused with the dark heavenly court's fortune, beings would become violent, and their inner desires would be infinitely magnified. Hence, dark beings committed countless atrocities, and the dark heavenly gods did not see this as a bad thing. Prolonged savagery would plunge the human world into despair, and in the depths of despair, it was easier to fall into darkness. On this day, just past noon, Guan, clad in blue, walked along a mountain ridge with the Wusher divine sparrow perched on his right shoulder. The blood prison great saint followed behind, glaring indignantly at the Wusher divine sparrow. Although this foul bird couldn't speak, it made him feel his status was threatened. "If you have something to say, say it. Why do you keep following me?" Guan asked without looking back. After years of cultivating his mind, he had returned to his pre-breakthrough state, becoming exceptionally calm. The blood prison great saint quickly replied, "Nothing, I just wanted to see if you need me for anything. You can command me anytime." "Then I order you not to follow me now," Guan said casually, causing the blood prison great saint to halt immediately, looking at Guan with an embarrassed expression. He truly felt out of favor, blood prison great saint thought despairingly. The corners of Guan's mouth twitched slightly. He wanted to ask, when had he ever favored him? "Go find Zoyer and assist him. I'll guide you in your cultivation when you return." Guan's voice reached the blood prison great saint's ears, filling him with joy. He quickly thanked Guan and then vanished from the mountainside. Guan paid no more attention to him and continued to stroll forward. He did not go to observe the state of the 3,000 great worlds. He was enjoying the scenery along the way, contemplating how to remodel the dojo. He planned to construct some wonders imbued with different Tao intents for the disciples to comprehend. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 769. The Unstoppable Momentum of Darkness. 1 month after the blood prison great saint left, the Taoist field of the beginningless underwent some changes. At dawn, sunlight passed over the mountains, shining on a spot between the peaks. In the midst of 2 mountains stood a circular structure with a diameter exceeding a mile. Within the white courtyard walls stood numerous stone pillars. Each pillar was intricately carved with complex and mysterious runes. Enzazai, dressed in a white embroidered robe, led dozens of disciples into the structure. His demeanor was elegant now, with a long beard giving him an air of a grandmaster. This is the Great Tao Institute, established by our ancestors specifically for contemplating the Great Tao. You have all begun to enter the path. You can come here to cultivate in the future. Enzazai walked at the front, explaining to them. The disciples looked around, feeling very curious, though some were distracted. Great senior brother, you are the foremost of the 3rd-generation disciples. Why don't you go out and bring glory to Wusher? One disciple couldn't help but ask. This remark prompted immediate follow-up questions from other disciples. Presently, the Dark Divine sect wreaks havoc, and various sects around the world have ceased hostilities to join forces against it. Yet even so, the Dark Divine sect's momentum continues to grow. All Wushiji disciples possess a sense of justice and are frustrated by the Dark Divine sect's unstoppable rise. Unfortunately, Wusher has regulations. To leave the mountain, one must at least reach the Zizai immortal realm. With Wushi's foundation and the disciples' talents, reaching the Zizai immortal realm is not difficult. However, even so, it requires time. The disciples brought by Enzazai to the Great Tao Institute had not yet reached the Zizai immortal realm. They were concerned about the world but unable to venture out, leading to impatience. Enzazai turned to look at them, smiling. You all are still too young. Do you know how many disasters have occurred before? This time is different. The Dark Divine sect comes from beyond the heavenly Tao. It's said that even the immortal gods cannot defeat them, a female disciple said worriedly. Enzazai replied irritably, since the immortal gods can't prevail against them, do you still wish to save the world? We may not be able to defeat the dark heavenly gods, but there are certainly beings within the Dark Divine sect that we can overcome. Moreover, we can save the suffering masses and fulfill our responsibilities, another disciple answered passionately, inspiring others to agree. Born on the 9-spirit continent, they didn't suffer the hardships of mortal spirits. Their immortal cultivation was not for longevity or superiority. From a young age, they were instilled with a sense of mission, to serve the world and its beings. The isolated 9-spirit continent, given the best cultivation conditions by their ancestor, demanded they repay all living beings and extol their ancestors' virtues. Enzazai looked at them, feeling both helpless and gratified. Though these disciples were overestimating their capabilities, at least they hadn't deviated from Wushi's expectations. Enzazai himself had endured hardships to reach this day. Having ventured out for training, he comprehended the nature of disciples from other sections. Those with ideals benefiting all living beings were rare. I have my responsibilities. I won't go out, and you shouldn't think of leaving prematurely either. Enzazai stated firmly, his tone allowing no dissent. A powerful aura erupted, changing the complexion of all disciples. In their memory, Enzazai always maintained a gentle demeanor, a reason they dared to voice such concerns. But facing his true aura now, they realized his authority in Wusher wasn't solely due to seniority. The Great Tao Institute fell into silence. At that moment, a sound of something piercing the air came from afar. The group instinctively turned, seeing a streak of cyan light fly past. Enzazai frowned, recognizing the figure within the cyan light. It was Celestial Cyan and her disciple, Shengguan Xiener, who was severely injured and held by Celestial Cyan. Not just Enzazai, the other disciples saw this too, whispering and speculating whether Shengguan Xiener was wounded by the Dark Divine sect. CTH Nafire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Enough, start your enlightenment. Enzazai redirected their attention. Elsewhere. Celestial Cyan, holding Shengguan Xiener, arrived at Gu An's courtyard. At this moment, Guan was reading. Master, Sienna was injured by people from the Dark Divine sect. Her cultivation level is dissipating, and I cannot avert this damage. Celestial Cyan said urgently after landing beside Guan, then squatted down to place Shangguan Sienna on the ground. Guan, lying on a rocking chair, glanced at Shangguan Sienna. The girl had her eyes tightly shut, her face pale, and her tightly furrowed brows twitching as if in a nightmare. I told you to act within your limits. She's entangled by a powerful power of cause and effect, even a Tai Chin Golden Immortal could hardly save her. Guan shook his head, causing Celestial Cyan to become even more anxious. If a Tai Chin Golden Immortal can't do it, surely you can, Celestial Cyan quickly said, kneeling as she spoke. Shangguan Sienna was her first and most beloved disciple. She couldn't bear to see her pupil lose her cultivation. Guan cast Celestial Cyan a glance, waved his hand casually, and said, "It's done." His sleeve brushed past Shangguan Sienna's face, leaving nothing behind, but her furrowed brows instantly relaxed. Celestial Cyan was momentarily stunned, immediately checking Shangguan Sienna's body. Soon, she discovered that the dark power within Shangguan Sienna had vanished. She was overjoyed, instantly hugging Guan, and began to thank him. Your disciple is right here. Have some decency, move aside quickly. Guan said helplessly. Celestial Cyan and Tianbai had always liked clinging to him. Even after millions of years, they couldn't change this habit. Celestial Cyan took the opportunity to snuggle against Guan for a while before letting go with a smile and then left with the soon-to-awaken Shangguan Sienna in her arms. Guan adjusted his position and continued reading. You're clearly enjoying it, yet you pretend otherwise. Shenzhen's voice came, but Guan ignored her. Not hearing a response, Shenzhen opened her eyes, turned to Guan, and asked, I saw the dark god hiding in the darkness, his flames reflecting our celestial spirit great world. How do you plan to deal with him in the future? Guan said he wouldn't care, but Shenzhen didn't believe it. To her, Guan was waiting for the right moment. Though the dark god terrified her, making him seem unbeatable, Shenzhen believed that as long as Guan acted, the dark god would definitely perish. How to deal with him? Naturally, by giving my all. If he's so powerful and I slack off, I'll be killed. What then? Guan replied, causing Shenzhen to roll her eyes. Hearing this, Shenzhen was completely at ease. She even began to feel pity for the dark god. The dark god hadn't invaded yet, probably waiting for the dark heavenly gods to probe the celestial spirit great world. Unfortunately, no matter how he calculated, he couldn't fathom Guan's true strength. When the dark god faces Guan, despair will surely follow. Why such a powerful being hides within this world, not seeking conquest, fame, or profit, and isolated on a continent, is simply inconceivable. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 770, Summoning the Dark God Amidst the Void. A gigantic golden disk was advancing, and upon it, 100,000 heavenly soldiers sat meditating and cultivating. Zhang Buku opened his eyes, gazing towards the mysterious and beautiful end of the void. His thoughts drifted as he reminisced about the previous great battle. As the struggle for the Son of Heaven grew increasingly fierce, this celestial army had already experienced no fewer than 100 great battles. However, that last battle left him in awe. Since joining the celestial court, he couldn't help but feel a sense of disdain for the 3,000 great worlds because many powerful realms existed beyond them. He had never imagined that a great thousand world could nurture an existence that even immortal gods couldn't subdue. Recalling how the celestial calming god was forcefully suppressed with the entire celestial army being helpless, he felt that his path was still long. He couldn't help but think of the supporting Tao sword venerable from the celestial spirit great world. Could that sword venerable also possess the ability to surpass the celestial gods? Still thinking about the previous battle? Such great thousand worlds are rare. If it weren't for the struggle for the Son of Heaven, they wouldn't have surfaced to meddle in cause and effect. Yu, sitting beside Zhang Buku, spoke up. He didn't seem surprised by the previous battle. Zhang Buku glanced at him and asked, "By now, the struggle for the Son of Heaven has fully erupted, and you still won't reveal your origins?" Smiling, Yu replied, "If you are still alive after the struggle for the Son of Heaven ends, I will tell you." "Could it be that you are also a Son of Heaven?" Zhang Buku sneered. Yu retorted with annoyance, "Some things should not be said carelessly. Sangtian above might just bestow celestial punishment upon you." Instinctively, Zhang Buku raised his eyes. Although he didn't show fear, his sudden silence clearly reflected his apprehension towards Sangtian. Looking ahead, Yu continued, "This struggle for the Son of Heaven is more chaotic than I anticipated. I have a feeling that a great upheaval will occur later." "What kind of upheaval?" "You'll understand in due course. What is certain is that the first decisive battle of the struggle for the Son of Heaven will arrive soon." Yu's expression rarefied, revealing a look of dread in his eyes, which made Zhang Buku even more curious about what would happen next. Since becoming a heavenly soldier, Zhang Buku had experienced death many times and always revived, making him increasingly fearless, merely admiring the enemy's might. The struggle for the Son of Heaven was already intense enough, and yet the first decisive battle had not occurred? Both worried and excited about the future, Zhang Buku eagerly anticipated the upcoming earth-shattering battles. Time flew by swiftly, and 1,000,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. The celestial spirit great world had been mostly shrouded by the dark divine sect. Viewed from the universe, the celestial Tao light layer above the celestial spirit great world was largely tainted black, creating an oppressive atmosphere. Over the years, the 9 major sects combined forces to attack the dark divine sect several times, but in the Great War a century ago, the 9 major sects were heavily defeated and could no longer fight, retreating to their individual mountain gates, causing the human world to become much more desolate. With no major sect leading the charge, fewer beings dared to oppose the dark divine sect, resulting in the mortal spirits continuing to suffer, while the number of dark divine sect followers grew day by day. On a continent known as the Dark Holy Land, the dark divine sect had built an enormous sacrificial altar, 100 feet tall with a diameter of over 100 miles. The altar's edges were lined with stone pillars, each binding great cultivators and great demons, all shackled, their arms stretched wide, barely clinging to life. In the center of the altar, thousands of dark divine sect followers gathered, with the demon emperor and true monarch Chitian also present, having joined the dark divine sect after being rescued by the dark heavenly god. All followers looked in the same direction, where the dark heavenly god, shrouded in black smoke, stood with his back to them, gazing up at the sky. Will the dark god really descend? True monarch Chitian used the sound transmission technique to ask the demon emperor beside him, his tone nervous. The dark heavenly god was already the most powerful existence he had ever seen, seemingly omnipotent. Such a being was merely a servant of the dark god, making it hard to imagine the extent of the dark god's power. The demon emperor, gazing ahead, replied through the sound transmission technique, "By now, you should believe in the dark god's existence. What you should be considering now is how the dark god will treat us once he descends." Upon hearing this, true monarch Chitian furrowed his brows. After being infused with dark power, they did become stronger, but they were also aware of the negative effects of the dark power. They became more irritable, greedy, and filled with suspicion. The creator of such a power that invoked so many negative emotions was certainly no benevolent being. At the same time, on the edge of the continent, above a sea of clouds, stood more than a dozen people observing the altar. These were all Wushiji disciples, led by Celestial Demon Child and Tian Bai. Tian Bai held the white spirit exquisite tower, which emitted a faint light, concealing their presence and hiding their cause and effect. Is the dark divine sect really going to summon the dark god? What can we do? The current dark divine sect is already invincible. If the dark god descends, won't it be the end for us all? Even Ancestor Master LV isn't a match for the dark heavenly god. We have no means at all. In this world, perhaps only our ancestor has the hope of defeating the dark heavenly god. But we can't expect him to act. He's already protected the human world many times. The Wushiji disciples discussed among themselves, most of them being fourth-generation disciples who had participated in many battles against the Dark Divine sect. Celestial Demon Child did not join their conversation. She stared intently into the distance, hesitating about whether to retreat. Their Tao treasures had all been strengthened by Guan, which allowed them to infiltrate. But no matter how powerful the Tao treasures were, their effectiveness depended on the user's cultivation level. They couldn't rely on Tao treasures alone to annihilate the Dark Divine sect. Celestial Demon Child turned her gaze in another direction, sensing many powerful auras approaching. The news of the Dark Divine sect preparing to summon the Dark God had spread across the world, naturally attracting those righteous individuals who, despite the risk of their lives and spirits being extinguished, would do their utmost to stop them. Even though the combined might of the 9 major sects couldn't shake the Dark Divine sect, could these incoming great cultivators turn the tide? Rumble, the ground trembled as a massive pillar of black light erupted from the distant altar, shooting skyward, shaking the celestial vault and clouds, as if connecting to an exotic world. Sir the Novelier. N.E.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Seeing this, the Wushiji disciples grew more agitated, repeatedly asking Celestial Demon Child if they should act. They knew it would be nearly impossible to combat the Dark Divine sect, but those who dared to come had long put life and death aside. Witnessing the Dark Divine sect attempting to summon the Dark God, they could no longer hold back. "What's the rush?" Celestial Demon Child shouted sternly, causing the disciples to fall silent in fright. A sword light streaked across the celestial vault above them, disappearing into the depths of the continent in the blink of an eye. "It's him." Celestial Demon Child raised an eyebrow, suddenly understanding why Guan valued him so highly. Even from afar, where she stood, she could see that despite being alone, he dared to face challenges head-on. The figure within that sword light was none other than the foremost sword cultivator of this world, Leah. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 771, The Only Chance on the Altar. The dark heavenly god standing before the black energy pillar suddenly turned his head to look. Immediately, thousands of followers of the Dark Divine sect followed suit, witnessing a sword light rapidly approaching. As the sword light dissipated, Li Ya's figure emerged, swinging his sword to strike. A sword chi akin to Jinghong attacked with such speed that the cultists of the Dark Divine sect had no time to react, yet the dark heavenly god did not intervene. Boom! The sword chi struck the black energy pillar and dispersed directly, causing no damage at all. Dressed in black, Leah remained suspended in the air, his expression unchanged upon seeing this scene. "Sword God Leah, we meet again. You refused my invitation before, do you still wish to become my enemy this time?" The dark heavenly god looked at Leah from afar and asked, his tone indifferent and devoid of any emotion. Leah calmly replied, "Our paths differ, so we cannot conspire together. You are invaders. From the moment you set foot in this great thousand world, you were destined to be my enemies." The dark heavenly god said no more, only waving his hand lightly. In an instant, dozens of figures rose like arrows, charging towards Leah. Thus, a fierce battle erupted. Leah was quickly surrounded. These followers of the Dark Divine sect were all renowned great cultivators or great powers of the demon race, each possessing extraordinary divine skills. Despite his unrivaled sword intent, Leah soon fell into a disadvantage. As the battle commenced, more and more powerful figures arrived to support, leading to an increasing number of Dark Divine sect followers joining the fray. True Monarch Chitian watched the chaotic battle in the sky, hesitating whether to rush up. "If you make a move now, you'll truly have no way back," the Demon Emperor suddenly said. True Monarch Chitian turned to look at him. The bursts of mana in the sky cast alternating light and shadows upon the faces of the two demons. A way back? Why seek a way back? Moreover, the Dark God is about to descend. Do you still plan to defect? Isn't that courting death? True Monarch Chitian frowned and asked. The Demon Emperor shifted his gaze to him, his eyes deep and unreadable, causing a sudden unease in true monarch Kishan's heart. You wouldn't think." True monarch Chitian looked at the demon emperor in shock, his voice trembling as he spoke. The demon emperor said expressionlessly, "Chitian, you once had ambitions. Do you really want to become a walking corpse, endlessly enduring and retreating merely to survive?" True monarch Chitian gritted his teeth and said, "Now, it's too late." The demon emperor looked towards the black energy pillar, saying no more. At the same time, in the cosmic void, before the world gate, celestial spirit god, Tai immortal monarch, Emperor Tianhong, the 72 immortals of Jin Dong, and others were preparing solemnly. "Once the dark god descends, we must take action," Tai immortal monarch said in a deep voice. The immortal god's expressions were resolute, without objection. They couldn't even contend with the dark heavenly god, let alone stop the dark god, but as immortal gods, they had to stand forth, even if it meant death. Tai immortal monarch stared fixedly at the top of the void, where a black hole appeared, from which horrifying black energy surged, as if a terrifying existence was about to descend. Not long after, Tai immortal monarch's expression changed slightly. He shouted in a low voice, "It's coming." Before his words fell, he charged forward first, followed closely by the other immortal gods. Each displayed their full momentum, aiming to reach the front of the black hole directly. However, during the relocation, an unimaginable oppressive force enveloped them, causing them to stop instantly, unable to move. Tai immortal monarch's expression changed dramatically. Before he could react, his body instantly exploded and disintegrated into ashes, followed by the other immortal gods. All were obliterated. Meanwhile, in the human world, the celestial vault above the altar was covered by rolling dark clouds. The sea of clouds churned, forming a vortex scene. In the midst of his fierce battle, Leah looked up, sensing trouble. He exploded with his most powerful sword intent, trying to break out of the encirclement, but was blocked by a golden tower. This golden tower, 100 feet tall, continuously emitted golden light that shook the soul, sealing off the surrounding space, making it impossible for Leah to break through in a short time. Just as he was restrained, powerful enemies from all directions attacked, forcing him into a defensive posture. Those fighting on the scene were all free immortals and Daoist Zhangzhai immortals. Their battles shook the heavens and earth, yet the altar below remained incredibly solid and unmoved. Celestial Demon Child and Tian Bai also led Wushiji disciples into battle, but the growing number of Dark Divine sect supporters prevented them from approaching the altar. The Dark Heavenly God, standing before the black energy pillar, surveyed all around, seemingly admiring the futile resistance of the living beings. Boom! The black energy pillar behind him suddenly expanded, the wild wind wreaking havoc, sweeping away the cultists on the altar who hadn't engaged in battle. S.E.A. The Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The Demon Emperor and True Monarch Chitian slid dozens of miles before stabilizing their positions. "It's coming." True Monarch Kishan's eyes widened as he shouted in shock. Other cultists also looked nervously at the black energy pillar behind the dark heavenly god. Despite having joined the Dark Divine sect, they still felt fear and tension at the impending descent of the dark god. An oppressive force far exceeding that of the dark heavenly god descended, instantly halting the chaos in the sky. All beings, both earthly creatures and Dark Divine sect followers, stopped fighting. They struggled to turn their heads, their gaze fixed on the black energy pillar. At this moment, everyone felt the breath of death, as if they could be annihilated at any moment. Gradually, they all began to descend, being suppressed and forced to lower their stance. Leah gritted his teeth, attempting to resist the oppressive force, but found himself unable to. When his feet touched the altar, the force surged, causing his expression to change drastically, his knees crashing onto the altar. Not just him, but all living beings experienced the same. Whether falling on the altar or not, all were pressed onto their knees, hands bracing against the ground, looking in disbelief at the black energy pillar. The black energy pillar's diameter continued to expand, eventually resembling a black sky curtain hung between heaven and earth, making the dark heavenly god in front of it seem insignificant. Who? A heavy breathing sound echoed, causing all living beings to feel unease. Kneeling on the ground, true monarch Kishan's eyes widened, his pupils trembling as he saw a white skeleton gradually emerging from the black energy pillar. This skeleton was vast, larger than a mountain, visible from all over the continent. When it stepped out of the black energy pillar, the terrifying oppressive force abruptly vanished, leaving the world in sudden silence. Leah tried to get up, but found himself unable to. Despite the absence of oppressive force on his body, he couldn't stand as if his body no longer belonged to him. This eerie feeling only intensified his fear. He gazed up at the imposing white skeleton of the dark god, feeling a deep sense of helplessness. Such an existence was beyond his capability to contend with. I offer you all a chance, your only chance. Who among you is willing to sacrifice themselves to continue the existence of this world? An icy voice rang out, clearly transmitted into the ears of every living being on the continent. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 772, Stand Up, Sacrifice Myself? All living beings on the continent shivered at these words, including the followers of the Dark Divine sect. The Dark God possessed overwhelming power, yet still proposed this test, clearly intending to mock them. For the followers of the Dark Divine sect, their god's enjoyment of toying with the weak was itself a dangerous sign. The Dark Heavenly God stood motionless in front of the Dark God's bones, silent like a ghostly figure. If your will to sacrifice is strong enough, you can resist the suppression of the dark power, you can stand up. Whoever stands up first will get this chance. Let's see who wants to be the savior and who can achieve it. The voice of the Dark God resounded again, deafening all living beings. The vast majority did not feel a sudden urge to sacrifice but rather despair. The previous oppressive force of the Dark God was too strong, so strong that it snuffed out their will to fight. Yet, Leah wanted to sacrifice himself. He tried to get up with all his might but could not. Get up, Leah roared inwardly. At this moment, he could only believe in the Dark God's words. In the face of absolute power, he thought the Dark God had no need to toy with them. Even if it was false, he wanted to prove to the Dark God that someone would stand out in this world and would not be looked down upon. However, no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't stand up. His will could not break through the shackles of the dark. He became increasingly angry and began to feel that the Dark God was deceiving him. Suddenly, he saw someone in front of him start to wobble but then stood up, causing his pupils to contract. That person was from the Dark Divine sect. Not only Leah, but other living beings also noticed someone stood up. You, true monarch Chitian widened his eyes, looking at the demon emperor beside him in disbelief. The demon emperor lowered his head, trembling non-stop, but still struggled to stand up. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the one to step forward is a demon already plunged into darkness. The voice of the Dark God was filled with sarcasm. Look carefully. The being who can stand up at this moment must have a deep love for this world, with compassion towards all living beings beyond your imagination. Yet, such a being has fallen into darkness. It seems there is injustice in this world. These words made the eyes of the living beings on the continent flicker. Some were indignant, some bewildered, and others remained filled with anger and hatred. Many recognized the demon emperor's identity, whose past had become legend, spreading throughout the human world. The demon emperor was the kindest of demons, wanting all races to coexist peacefully, only to be suppressed by the 9 major sects and sealed for millions of years. No one was surprised that the demon emperor immersed himself in darkness, not even those who wanted to oppose the Dark Divine sect could blame him. But no one expected that at this critical moment, the demon emperor would step forward, choosing to sacrifice himself to protect all living beings. Looking at his back, all living beings felt a profound shock. You are crazy. You are crazy. True monarch Chitian stared at the demon emperor, roaring inwardly, unable to speak and trying to hold the demon emperor back with his gaze. But the demon emperor did not look at him. Instead, he stared at the dark god. You don't need to strike them down. I am willing to sacrifice myself. Can you give a chance of survival to all living beings, even if it means joining the dark divine sect? The demon emperor tightly stared at the dark god, gritting his teeth, his voice echoing repeatedly under the dim celestial vault. Leah looked at the back of the demon emperor, listening to his words, feeling an unusual sense of admiration in his heart. He had heard of the demon emperor's story and had once felt pity, but as a human, he did not save this demon. When the demon emperor was in distress, no one stood up. Now, with the world in trouble, the so-called masters of heaven and earth could only await death in despair, while the demon emperor, oppressed by the human race, stood up. Sir the Novel Fire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Suddenly, Li Ya's heart wavered. He began to question whether it was just for the human race to be the masters of heaven and earth, as such catastrophes had happened countless times during their rule. He had seen wicked demons, but comparing the two races, human hearts were more terrifying than demons. Damn it, why am I kneeling here? Why can't I stand up? After a brief moment of shame, infinite anger surged in Li Ya's heart, his whole body trembling, his legs seemingly about to rise. Extreme anger made Li Ya feel he was about to break the shackles, making his anger still rise, his face flushed red. Smack! A hand suddenly pressed on Li Ya's shoulder, pushing him back down, causing all his chi power to dissipate, and the anger in his heart mysteriously vanished. Li Ya instinctively glanced sideways and then froze. He saw Guan, dressed in a green robe, standing beside him, one hand pressing on his shoulder. Guan stepped forward, conveniently taking Li Ya's treasure sword into his hand. Holding Li Ya's sword, Guan walked towards the dark god. Li Ya stared blankly at Guan's back, feeling a sense of déjà vu. Junior brother Gu, Li Ya's mouth curled into a helpless smile. In such a critical moment, junior brother Gu, you always manage to stand out, not too early, not too late, saving the world while inflicting a warning upon all living beings. The dark god's gaze fell on Guan, his eyes slightly narrowing. The dark heavenly god slightly moved, clearly noticing Guan's presence as well. He looked up at the dark god but eventually chose not to act. The demon emperor took a deep breath and then roared angrily, "Dark god! Answer me!" He shouted hoarsely, shattering the fear in his heart, questioning the dark god, seeking a glimmer of hope for this world. The dark god did not answer. The demon emperor, unaware of Guan's presence, could only stare at him intently. Meanwhile, Guan walked past the kneeling beings. Some from the dark divine sect looked at him, some cultivators from various sects looked at him, most with puzzled eyes, not knowing who Guan was. In the distance, Wushiji disciples also noticed Guan. On the altar, Guan walking towards the dark god was so conspicuous. Celestial demon child and Tian Bai smiled, feeling relieved, while the Wushiji disciples felt nervous, unsure if their ancestor could confront the dark god. Who exactly are you, and why have you hidden in this world? The dark god's voice echoed, hiding a murderous intent. The demon emperor was stunned upon hearing this. He seemed to recall something, instinctively turning his head. Seeing Guan approaching with a sword, his eyes widened. He had never seen Guan but somehow felt that Guan's figure was familiar. As Guan got closer, a figure deep in his mind gradually emerged. Since you have such determination, I will help you transcend your mortal body, but I hope you do not become what you now fear and despise. The voice from the past echoed once more in the demon emperor's ears. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 773. That sword. The demon emperor stared blankly as Guan approached. Ancient memories churned in his mind, making him ignore the current predicament. The dark god did not act either, only staring at Guan. At this moment, Guan seemed to become the focal point of the entire world. More and more gazes locked onto him, most filled with confusion. In the present world, few people knew Guan. Even when mentioning Wuxia, people only thought of some vague legends. The most famous figures of Wuxia were Lv Xian and Chen Chuan. People knew Wuxi's master was strong, but there weren't many records or legends about him. The world was silent, all living beings stared at Guan, wanting to see what he would do. From the dark god's inquiry, this man should be very strong. But, no matter how strong, can he be powerful enough to contend with the entire dark divine sect? Guan was holding Li Ya's sword, ignoring the gazes from all directions. This time, he did not deliberately hide his true face, allowing everyone to see. He wanted to tell all beings that the celestial spirit great world could rely on self-rescue. He was neither an immortal god nor an outer heaven demon, he looked just like an ordinary human. Many great powers from outer heaven assumed Guan came from another great world, hidden here. Little did they know, Guan was born and bred in the celestial spirit great world, which was why he was willing to stay. The dark god saw Guan not responding, his expression grew increasingly cold, his killing intent almost solidifying. He raised his right bone claw, and as he did, the entire world suddenly changed. Darkness swallowed the celestial vault and the earth, making all beings feel suffocated. It was at this moment Guan moved. He swiftly threw Li Ya's treasure sword, its cold light dazzling, illuminating the demon emperor's face, his eyes widened. The dark heavenly god's black robe fluttered violently, he too could not react. Boom, the sword pierced the dark god at an unbelievable speed, without any flashy divine power or fierce sword intent. This sword was very ordinary, yet exceedingly forceful. The darkness enveloping the world shattered suddenly. The sword light traversed the sacrificial platform, directly shattering the dark god's massive white bone, fragmented bones flying in all directions. This scene left all beings dumbfounded, including the followers of the dark divine sect. They had already estimated Guan as highly as possible, after all, Guan could advance, holding his head high under the dark god's pressure. They had expected a stunningly fierce battle but did not anticipate Guan shattering the dark god's white bone with just one sword. Search * the novel Fire. And a website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Could the dark god be testing him? All beings harbored such thoughts. In past years, the dark heavenly god established an invincible and powerful image. His worshipped dark god could not possibly be weak. Based on this, none of them believed the dark god had truly been defeated. The demon emperor turned to look, gazing at the fragments of bones scattered across the sky, stunned. The dark heavenly god turned to look too, sharing the same thoughts as other beings, believing the dark god was intentionally testing Guan, thus he did not panic. Guan raised his hand and pulled. Li Ya's treasure sword traced a perfect arc in the air, landing before Li Ya. The sword blade plunged into the sacrificial platform's ground, continually vibrating. Unlike other beings, Li Ya believed the dark god was truly dead. He looked at his sword, never imagining his sword to be so powerful. The sword just now lacked sword intent and sword chi, giving him a sense of the great Tao's simplicity. The sacrificial platform fell into silence. After a few breaths, slowly, some began to realize something was off. Could the dark god really be dead? This speculation sparked hope in more and more beings, while the dark divine sect side found it unbelievable. They worshipped the power of darkness. In their minds, the dark god was the strongest, omnipotent. How could he be killed by a single sword? That sword was swift, but this completely contradicted their expectations of a great battle. The dark heavenly god came back to his senses too, realizing something was wrong, wanting to move away, but an extremely terrifying power suppressed him, rendering him immobile. He looked at Guan in horror. Guan kept walking towards him. The sacrificial platform remained silent, but all beings watched Guan. His footsteps seemed to echo in their ears, pounding on their hearts, strong and powerful, striking at their spirits and souls. Guan walked step by step towards the dark heavenly god, bringing boundless fear to him. He deliberately walked slowly, and as time passed, the dark god never reappearing, made more and more beings begin to believe the dark god was truly dead. He died abruptly, without any resistance. If they hadn't previously felt the terrifying pressure of the Dark God, they might suspect the Dark Divine sect to be a lie, and the so-called Dark God not worth mentioning. But now, their hearts were filled with infinite shock and reverence. Who was this person? Why was he so powerful? The disciples of Wuxia were even more excited, standing up and looking at Guan from afar, not daring to disturb him. Other beings also gradually realized the Dark God's pressure was gone. They could stand up, and when they did, no one spoke, nor did anyone leave, still standing quietly in place, waiting. Guan walked past the Demon Emperor, getting closer and closer to the Dark Heavenly God. The Demon Emperor's gaze followed Guan, as did the gaze of the true monarch Qitian. In the true monarch Qitian's eyes, Guan was dazzling, emanating an unprecedented aura. This was the person he should become. Though the true monarch Qitian did not know Guan, at this moment, he developed an extreme sense of reverence and aspiration towards Guan. Not only because Guan was strong, but also because Guan appeared so timely, at such an awe-inspiring moment. The thoughts of the spectators transmitted into Guan's ears, but he did not care. He arrived in front of the Dark Heavenly God, his gaze cold. An unimaginable force of suppression made the Dark Heavenly God kneel directly, kneeling before Guan, a scene that made all beings' hearts jump. Because they realized the deep significance of the Dark Heavenly God's kneeling. It heralds the end of the catastrophe brought by the Dark Divine sect, and the myth of darkness would become a joke. The heavens seemed to favor them, and the black clouds in the sky scattered, sunlight pouring down, driving away the darkness in the human world. Who are you? Why? The Dark Heavenly God asked through gritted teeth, his face shrouded in dark energy, not revealing his true visage. Guan looked down at him, said, "It seems you are insignificant within the Dark Heavenly Court, merely pawns placed outside." He had already been to the heaven-suppressing Endless Tower, and the speed of the heaven-suppressing Endless Tower had slowed considerably, indicating the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable hesitated greatly. Given this situation, the Dark God dared to come. It was evident that the Dark God was not worthy of mention in the eyes of the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. Not only the Dark God but other dark beings placed into the Heavenly Tao were also the same, mere pawns to the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. The Dark Heavenly God trembled upon hearing Guan utter the words Dark Heavenly Court, lowering his head gradually. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 774. What constitutes saintliness? Watching the Dark Heavenly God lower his head, Guan showed no mercy. With a flick of his right hand sleeve, the Dark Heavenly God instantly recovered. A prompt appeared before Guan's eyes, indicating success in seizing billions of years of lifespan. He tilted his head slightly, casting a sideways glance at the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor met his gaze and shivered all over. Instinctively wanting to speak, he found that Guan had vanished into thin air as if he had never appeared. The wind from afar swept across the heavens and earth, blowing past every living being on the sacrificial altar. The followers of the Dark Divine sect felt the dark power within them dissipating, causing them confusion. If the Dark Divine sect were to truly dissolve, how would they carry on in the future? He is truly a deity. I wonder who that senior was? A great cultivator sighed sincerely, his face somewhat dazed, feeling as if everything was a dream. That senior was the patriarch of our Wuxia who has saved the human world multiple times. You all were fortunate to encounter him in action. A disciple of Wuxiji laughed loudly and proudly, his words causing an uproar among the other beings. The patriarch of Wuxia? Isn't that the legendary great power? The Demon Emperor also heard these words. A fighting spirit ignited in his eyes, and his whole demeanor transformed as if he became a different person. True monarch Qitian, who had been watching him, noticed his change. Could the Demon Emperor know the ancestor Master Wuxia? True monarch Qitian speculated secretly, a bold thought emerging in his mind, which instantly thrilled him. Unnoticed, Liya drew his sword and silently departed. Elsewhere, Guan had already returned to the Taoist field of the beginningless. As he walked along the mountain path, he raised his right hand. A mass of black energy emerged from his palm, revealing a pair of eyes. It was the eyes of the dark god. How could this be? The dark god was terrified upon seeing Guin. Before he could finish his sentence, his eyes became hollow. Guin began the soul search, understanding his past in the dark heavenly court. The vast memories of the dark god were nothing to Guin today. With a probe of his divine sense, all the memories poured into Guin's mind. This dark god was once a being of the heavenly Tao. Like most stories of ascending to immortality, he was born in the mortal world, a peerless genius. He endured hardships, ascended to the great thousand world, created a Taoist lineage there, and accepted numerous disciples, eventually becoming a legendary figure in one of the great worlds. Later, he ascended to immortality, thinking he had fully attained the Tao. However, shortly after his ascension, the War of the Sons of Heaven broke out, and he was forced into it. Wishing to protect the great thousand world and the mortal world he had dwelled in amid the chaos, he ultimately failed, and the celestial court annihilated the 3,000 great worlds, recreating them. His past thus ceased to exist. From then on, a seed of hatred was planted in his heart. When the contest for the celestial emperor arose, he was dragged into the chaos again. Ultimately, the Son of Heaven he supported failed and was exiled by the celestial emperor, alongside his followers into chaos, suffering endless backlash from the great Tao. During those long years of backlash from the great Tao, that Son of Heaven achieved sudden enlightenment, founding the Dark Fortune, establishing the Dark Heavenly Court, and rescuing them from torment. In the ensuing years, the Dark God continuously cultivated, awaiting the day of returning to the Heavenly Tao. After the founding of the Dark Heavenly Court, that Son of Heaven proclaimed himself the Dark Heavenly Emperor. He planned to devour the Heavenly Tao with dark power to become the true Celestial Emperor. In the mortal world, he was a favored scion of the heavens. In the Great Thousand World, he was an unparalleled myth. Yet from the moment he ascended, he was insignificant. Whether in the Celestial Court or the Dark Heavenly Court, he remained little more than a speck of dust. Having been sent by the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable Sect to the 3,000 great worlds as the vanguard, he bore a selfish desire, to seize the opportunity to escape the dark fortune and reincarnate as a true being of the heavenly Tao. The celestial spirit great world was not truly drawn into the struggle over the Son of Heaven, and its fortune was on the rise, so he chose it. After observing for a long time, he saw that no stronger immortals or gods intervened despite the dark heavenly god's chaos. He thought his chance had come. Unfortunately, he encountered Guin. Through his memories, Guin gained some understanding of the dark heavenly court. It possessed 9 supreme treasures, of which the heaven-suppressing endless tower was just one. The exiled immortal gods were equivalent to half a celestial court, and their survival in chaos indeed posed a significant threat to the heavenly Tao. Guin felt puzzled by the celestial emperor's decision. The celestial emperor had the power to eradicate the immortal gods. Why did he choose to exile so many instead, unafraid of nurturing future trouble? Was it part of a greater plan, or did he simply not care? The celestial emperor was incredibly strong. Even in the dark god's heart, he was an invincible existence. It was precisely out of fear of the celestial emperor that the dark god wanted to reincarnate into the celestial court, escaping the dark heavenly court. In his eyes, the dark heavenly court held no hope. He followed it out of necessity. After witnessing the dark god's memories, Guin felt a deep sympathy for him. With a squeeze of his right hand, he completely shattered the soul essence of the dark god. Immediately, a prompt appeared before his eyes, indicating that the dark god had granted him 900 billion years of lifespan. For one of his level, having only 9,000 billion years of life left meant he was nearing the end of his journey. In his desire to reincarnate, the dark god revealed his true essence, giving Guin the opportunity to eliminate him. Though his life story warranted sympathy, Guin would not take him in, for he had betrayed many benefactors merely to survive. However, out of this sense of sympathy, Guin decided he would later record his story in a book, ensuring that his erased past would be remembered in the human world. After vanquishing the dark god, the destiny of the world in Guin's eyes completely changed. The future would usher in a new era, brimming with interesting events. The years are long, and the mixed element profound venerable immortal is not enough. Taihao, how high must I ascend to truly defeat you? Guan mused, a smile tugging at his lips as he began to look forward to that day. Sooner or later, he would honor the engagement and face the Celestial Emperor in a true battle. Ea the Nephire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The mixed element profound venerable immortal was powerful, but it was still far from sufficient. In the Dark God's memories, Guan heard the mysterious Dark Heavenly Emperor mention only 2 words: only by becoming a saint did one have absolute hope of defeating the Celestial Emperor. Becoming a saint? What does it mean to be a saint? In the depths of the universe, the World Gate was radiating brilliant light as Celestial Spirit God, Tai Immortal Monarch, and other immortals and gods emerged one after another. Aside from them, there was another immortal god. Clad in heavy golden armor, he was encircled by 2 red sashes, gripping a long spear with celestial bodies orbiting its tip. His imposing presence overshadowed the others. They halted and frowned in unison. The dark fortune has dispersed. As the chief of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave, Purple Dragon Star Monarch spoke hesitantly. The other gods all opened their heavenly eyes on their foreheads and scrutinized, the results delighting them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 775. The Myth of Ancestor Master Wuxia. Indeed, it has dissipated. The demon-suppressing Great True Emperor spoke, the light emanating from his divine armor revealing the complex emotions on his face. The Celestial Spirit God, Tai Immortal Monarch, and other immortal gods speculated that it was Guan who acted. But how long had it been? They hadn't even felt the disturbance or aura of the great battle, and the Dark God was gone. The demon-suppressing Great True Emperor glanced at the immortals and asked, "It seems there is a great power hidden within the Celestial Spirit Great World. Do you know who it is?" These words made some immortal gods look a bit unnatural. Being immortals yet serving mortal spirits, even if the other's cultivation level was profound and unfathomable, if word got to the Celestial Court, trouble might arise. Tai Immortal Monarch shook his head and said, "If we knew, we wouldn't have sought aid from the Celestial Court." Speaking of, the Eternal Life Venerable once visited, perhaps he came to see this great power. Eternal Life Venerable. The demon-suppressing Great True Emperor's eyes changed slightly. He and the Eternal Life Venerable were both supreme immortals. Although they were not close, they had interacted. For the supreme immortal to visit, whether that great power had ties to the Celestial Court or not, it was best not to get involved. Having stayed in the Celestial Court for countless years, he knew one thing: immortal gods should only perform their immortal duties. Once they get involved in matters beyond their duties, trouble easily follows. Since the calamity has ended, there is no need for me to act. The demon-suppressing Great True Emperor left these words, then turned and walked into the World Gate. The immortal gods all saluted him, respectfully seeing him off. Before leaving, the demon-suppressing Great True Emperor's divine sense swept across the Celestial Spirit Great World, but he did not find the location of the Taoist field of the beginningless. However, the words of the masses got his attention. Ancestor Master Wuxia? Interesting. After the strong light within the World Gate faded, the immortal gods finally breathed a sigh of relief. The Celestial Spirit God looked at Tai Immortal Monarch, and sighed, "Immortal Monarch, you remain composed." Tai Immortal Monarch smiled and said, "The higher the immortal position, the more an immortal god fears trouble. Only a few take risks. I am an example. Greed almost led me to eternal doom." The 72 immortals of Jin Dong and Emperor Tianhong both nodded, very agreeing with this perception. The heavenly court immortal gods disdain mortal spirits, but those who may attract immortal god attention often have intricate connections with the celestial court. Sar the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Even Guan is no exception. He is the mentor of the Son of Heaven. Let's cover the cause and effect of this realm first. At least don't let the name of the elder spread to other great thousand worlds, just let the beings of this realm remember. Tai immortal monarch ordered. Unconsciously, he had already become the backbone of this group of immortal gods. The 72 immortals of Jin Dong were originally his subordinates, and the celestial spirit god also respected him over time. As for Emperor Tianhong, he always prioritized Guan, supporting anything beneficial to Guan. The news that the Dark God was exterminated by the ancestor Master Wuxia spread wildly across the land, shocking all who heard it. The Dark Divine sect had overshadowed the celestial spirit great world for too long, so long that the beings believed them to be invincible. The immortal cultivation realm was even more shaken, understanding better the strength of the Dark Divine sect. Many versions of the ancestor Master Wuxi's extermination of the Dark God were disseminated. Some said the ancestor Master Wuxia killed the Dark God with a single sword, some said they fought tens of thousands of rounds, with the Dark God ultimately suffering a crushing defeat, and some said the Dark God turned to ash upon a mere glare from the ancestor Master Wuxia. In these legends, Liya and the Demon Emperor were repeatedly mentioned. Liya was the first to blockade the Dark Heavenly God from summoning the Dark God. Even though he did not ultimately succeed, he was worthy of the title of the world's greatest sword cultivator. The Demon Emperor, being within the Dark Divine sect, chose to sacrifice himself, his spirit and courage shaking the beings of the world. Even the 9 major sects no longer had the face to slander him, they ceased entangling with the Demon Emperor. The demon race was greatly invigorated. In the past salvational legends, there was no trace of demons, but this time the Demon Emperor brought glory to the demon race. Some even said the Demon Emperor moved the ancestor Master Wuxia to take action. Within the beginningless, there were humans and demons. The beginningless never participated in struggles, only taking action when the world was in peril, recognized as a holy land. The world became lively. With the dissolution of the Dark Divine sect, various sects and dynasties began reclaiming lost lands, expanding territories. Great powers from various sects emerged to preach, often recounting the stories of the supporting Tao sword venerable, increasing the reverence and yearning among cultivators for the ancestor Master Wuxia. As the stories of the supporting Tao sword venerable were unearthed, the status of the beginningless in the minds of the beings rose higher and higher. It had been 50 years since the Dark God was exterminated. This year, in spring, Guan came to the Gathering Flower sect to see Jiang Qiong. During the chaotic years of the Dark Divine sect, the Gathering Flower sect could only barely protect its mountain gate. Now, with the disbandment of the Dark Divine sect, the Gathering Flower sect started establishing connections with various sects, and trades and discussions flourished, leading to a scene of prosperity. Quickly tell me, what exactly happened at that time? What was the Dark God like? Did he have 3 heads and 6 arms? In a small pavilion, Jiang Qiong, while pouring wine for Guan, urged eagerly. She wore a wide white robe, her black hair freely cascading to her waist, her skin as white as solidified cream, even glowing under the sunlight. Her beauty was unmatched, combining with her aura of an enlightened master, making her seem not like a mortal woman, carrying an air of profound depth. Guan immediately began recounting the situation then. That day, the sky darkened, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. Those involved in the battle knelt in despair. I originally did not want to intervene, trusting that the heavens had their own destiny. Yet, I couldn't bear it in my heart. Jiang Qiong listened intently, not minding Guan's embellishments but rather enjoying it greatly. When Guan mentioned that he used Li Ya's sword to kill the Dark God, Jiang Qiong burst into laughter. She knew Li Ya, aware that the world's greatest sword cultivator valued his reputation highly. Being saved by his junior again, his expression must have been spectacular. When Guan finished, Jiang Qiong still felt unsatisfied, thinking it wasn't enough. Guan began tasting the Gathering Flower sect snacks. Jiang Qiong suddenly asked, "What is the origin of the Dark God?" It is said his dark heavenly gods once defeated immortal gods. To great cultivators in the immortal cultivation realm, immortal gods were not mere legends. Tai immortal monarch and other immortal gods had wandered the human world, confirming for cultivators the existence of immortal gods. Guan pretended to ponder and said, "This involves an ancient secret history. I don't know if I should tell you, I fear bringing trouble upon you. Jiang Qiong widened her beautiful eyes and grumbled, my mouth is tight, unlike your disciples who would travel far. I will stay in the celestial spirit great world until you decide to leave. Guan said meaningfully, don't speak too hastily. If the chance to ascend to immortality were really before you, you might not be able to refuse. Unless you ascend to immortality, I will never ascend. Jiang Qiong said firmly. Guan listened and shook his head, smiling. Then he began to recount the dark heavenly court, and upon hearing the struggle between the celestial emperor and the son of heaven, Jiang Qiong was deeply engrossed, imagining many magnificent scenes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 776, Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. Guan stayed at the Gathering Flower sect for 3 days. Accompanied by Jiang Qiong, he toured the sect, and the whole process was very pleasant. When he returned to the Taoist field of the beginningless, the disciples were discussing something. It was that the demon emperor was kneeling outside the dojo, wanting to join the beginningless. The demon emperor was already famous throughout the world. Additionally, his brave stand against the dark god had won him the world's favor. The disciples of the beginningless and the people of the Nine-Spirit dynasty all admired him, so they let him in. Of course, there was another reason. The demon emperor's rise was so legendary that it was incomprehensible. He had no famous teacher, no significant background, and yet he became the great emperor of the demon race. And just when he was about to sacrifice himself, Ancestor Master Wuxia intervened, making the world speculate that there might be an unknown relationship between them. As for the demon emperor, Guan did not plan to take him in. When Nzazai came to ask for his opinion, he frankly said, I don't plan on taking disciples for now. If he wants to cultivate at the beginningless, he can stay. If he has other plans, he should give up on those ideas early. He is destined not to belong to the beginningless because he is the demon emperor. Upon hearing this, Nzazai suddenly understood. Yes, the title of demon emperor was not given lightly. As the leader of his race, he would have to return to the demon race sooner or later, which did not fit the rules of the beginningless. Since founding the Sword Sect, Qin Chuan could no longer use the title of a disciple of the beginningless. If the Sword Sect encountered difficulties, the disciples of the beginningless would not assist him. However, the world knew he was taught by the beginningless, which made them somewhat wary. Without the identity of a disciple of the beginningless, no matter how great Qin Chuan's talent was, he couldn't have founded the current Sword Sect. If another demon emperor were added, the beginningless would become a behind-the-scenes force manipulating the world. And Nzazai knew that Guan did not have such intentions. Otherwise, the ruler of the world wouldn't have been the Tao court, the supreme sect wouldn't have been unable to join the 9 major sects, and the Taizong dynasty wouldn't still be a second-rate dynasty today. Understanding the dangers, Nzazai saluted Guan and then turned to leave. Guan then walked towards his house. He intended to write the life of the dark god into books and distribute them to the human world. He would divide the experiences into different books, forming mythical stories. Whether someone could string these myths together in the future was uncertain. Witnessing history and looking forward to the future was something Guan now enjoyed. With immense strength, he feared no enemies and could observe the evolution of all things from the perspective of a bystander. This perspective was interesting, like looking back on history but also being able to participate, which was a wonderfully powerful feeling. Guan could bear the consequences of anything he did in the celestial spirit great world now, but he merely did not act. The desires of mortals he could fulfill at will. Now, he indulged in higher desires. No action and following his heart. He would not interfere in the red dust in daily life, but if he encountered something displeasing, he would act as he wished. Gradually, Guan grasped a realm that was unclear, indescribable, and unrelated to cultivation levels. He had a premonition that reaching this realm would bring him immense joy. After entering his house, he picked up his pen. Instead of writing immediately, he sought that feeling. After a long while, he began to write. He was not just writing the Dark God's story, but also his own journey of seeking the Tao. These books would later be filled with Tao intent. Anyone in the world obtaining just one would have the qualification to achieve the golden immortal Tao fruit. Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the years to come, the celestial spirit great world was in a state of recovery, and after the great catastrophe, the destiny of the world soared. The human world ushered in new creation. The new creation trend was the increasing concentration of spiritual energy and the increasingly powerful cultivation aptitude of living beings. Heaven and earth were like the body of a living being. After enduring hardships and surviving, it became stronger. Unlike the previous era of battles for supremacy, after the calamity of the Dark Divine Sect, the 9 major sects no longer fought each other. Instead, they formed an alliance, the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, to jointly govern the order of the world. They also absorbed other sects, constructing rules to control the forces of the world. These rules were not domineering. All living beings in the world were jubilant, welcoming the arrival of peace. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance later revealed the grand pattern of the world ruler. They even invited the Demon Emperor to become one of the Alliance hierarchs to win over the hearts of the demon race. This news made the demon race thrilled. This human world was dominated by the human race. Having the power to rule the world was a good thing for the demon race. Thus, another 1,000,000 years passed. The celestial spirit great world underwent earth-shaking changes. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance established many cities in the outer void. At every moment, cultivators could be seen entering and leaving the celestial spirit great world, and the celestial Tao light layer above it became even more brilliant, symbolizing that the celestial Tao destiny had reached a higher level. In the universe, on a meteor, there stood a grand tower. On the terrace of the tower, the Demon Emperor, dressed in red, was playing the qin. In front of him was the bright moon, and the stars adorned the sky behind the moon, as beautiful as a painting. 1,000,000 years had passed. The Demon Emperor transformed from a disciple of the Dark Divine Sect to one of the hierarchs of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and his demeanor had greatly changed, majestic yet elegant. A figure appeared behind the Demon Emperor. It was true monarch Chitian. Demon Emperor, another demon cultivator from the other great 1,000 worlds has broken in. This demon's bloodline is extraordinary. Do you want to take a look yourself? True monarch Chitian asked. He was now the Demon Emperor's first disciple, and working for the Demon Emperor, he was the most powerful demon under him. In the world, neither he nor the Demon Emperor was the strongest demon, but backed by the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, they were the most powerful demons in terms of influence. The Demon Emperor did not stop his movements and softly asked, "What's different about him?" "That demon seems to possess the primordial physique." True monarch Chitian replied, his face full of envy as he spoke these words. The primordial physique is a general term for a category of powerful physiques, including the primordial cause and effect body, the primordial chaos body, etc. These bodies have a high comprehension of the rules of heaven and earth, their chi blood is far beyond that of other beings in the same realm, and their Tao fruits form unique Tao patterns. The primordial physique? I indeed have to see that, the Demon Emperor replied. He wasn't in a hurry to see that demon and continued to play the qin. True monarch Chitian did not leave either. He looked at the Demon Emperor, his eyes turning, and said, "Demon Emperor, Sword God Liya has come to visit the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. It is said that he is deeply protected by Ancestor Master Wusher. Should we invite him as a guest?" He always harbored lingering thoughts about the beginningless, but sadly, the Demon Emperor was rejected by Ancestor Master Wusher, and he had given up the path to the beginningless. The stories of Liya and Ancestor Master Wusher were widely known. It was said that Liya and a reincarnated body of Ancestor Master Wusher were once fellow disciples, and for this reason, he was always protected by Ancestor Master Wusher. Liya's talent was mediocre, but he became the sword god, the #1 sword cultivator in the world. Many people believe that this was related to Ancestor Master Wusher. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 777, The Unprecedented Pathsword God, Leah. The demon emperor repeated the name in his heart, full of envy. Sar the Novelier. N.E.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Ever since he recognized that the primordial ancestor was the one who enlightened and passed on his cultivation technique to him, he had wanted to join the Wusher sect. Unfortunately, he failed. And Zazai explained to him the reason for the primordial ancestor's refusal, and he felt it was reasonable. He couldn't give up his identity as the demon emperor because he wanted to achieve great things for the demon race. Although he understood, the demon emperor always kept the primordial ancestor in his mind. After becoming the Alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, he collected many legends and stories about Wusher, which led him to learn about Leah. It was said that the primordial ancestor valued Leah greatly, even more than the protection of the Wushiji disciples. How could he not be envious of such treatment? You can invite him, but don't be too insistent. Instead, invite him to visit my residence. If he is unwilling, don't force it. The demon emperor mused, and true monarch Kishan's face broke into a smile. Drawing Leah to his side was more important to him than recruiting geniuses from the Outer Heaven demon clan. True monarch Chitian didn't salute, immediately disappearing from the spot. The demon emperor was accustomed to his personality. Although they were master and disciple, they were more like friends, without many formalities between them. The melodious sound of the zither echoed again, and the demon emperor's thoughts floated back to a long time ago. At that time, he was just a little black dog, trembling as he followed behind the primordial ancestor. As time passed, he now stood at the pinnacle of power in the celestial spirit great world. He was thinking about how he could satisfy the primordial ancestor. The sun was shining brightly, and a gentle breeze was blowing. In a courtyard, Guan and Xiaolan were sitting opposite each other, drinking tea. Xiaolan was recounting her recent experiences. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance invited me to be the Alliance hierarch. At first, I was surprised. Am I really qualified? But guess what? The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance has 108 hierarchs. Any major event or decision requires a vote by the hierarchs, and there is no absolute dictator. Xiaolan sighed. As a prodigy once supported by the Tao court, she was still well known among the upper echelons of various major sections. If she could join the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, the Alliance could claim to be inheriting the Tao court's legacy, which would help the Alliance better govern the world. Unfortunately, Xiaolan only wanted to seek the Tao now and no longer wanted to participate in power struggles. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance is built on the rules of the Tao court, even more refined. I think they have a good future. The human world doesn't have to be in constant conflict. After speaking, Xiaolan looked at Guan. She knew Guan could see the future and wanted to know his opinion of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. Guan poured tea while saying, "The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance is indeed good. It will bring long-lasting peace to the human world, even surpassing the holy court of the time." Xiaolan, having regained memories of her past life, knew the situation during the holy court's rule. She curled her lips and said, although the holy court was the overlord of the world, it didn't bring peace to the human world. In my opinion, they weren't even as good as the Tao court. Guan smiled and did not refute. Xiaolan then shifted the topic to the Xiao family. The genius from the Xiao family with the Tai Chu physique had already risen and become the backbone of the family. Not long ago, he also went to the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance to cultivate. The struggle for the Son of Heaven in the 3,000 Great Worlds continued, with cultivators from other great thousand worlds infiltrating the Celestial Spirit Great World. This also gave the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance the opportunity to learn about and explore the outer heaven. By searching for resources in other great thousand worlds, they strengthened the Celestial Spirit Great World, which also shifted internal conflicts, with all the aspirants venturing into the outer heaven. Great cultivators went to the outer heaven, giving the younger generation more room to showcase their talents. Geniuses emerged like bamboo shoots after the rain, writing their own legends across the land. Brother Gu, what do you think the next catastrophe for the human world will be? Xiao Lan asked curiously. During the chaos caused by the Dark Divine sect, the Xiao family had also been attacked. Even her cultivation level couldn't withstand the Dark Divine sect. If it hadn't been for Guan supporting them, she and the Xiao family would have been long gone. Guan said crossly, "It's only been peaceful for a few years, and you're already worrying again. There aren't that many catastrophes. 1,000,000 years is not a short time. Ask any mortal spirit, and events from 1,000,000 years ago are already ancient legends to them. Your feat of destroying the Dark God is probably also considered a myth now." Xiao Lan's eyes widened as she spoke seriously. She felt Gu An's perception of time had become blurred. 1,000,000 years was a long time, not only for mortal spirits but also for her. Guan laughed, "Then you can rest assured. The next catastrophe comparable to the Dark Divine sect is far off. What about the struggle for the Son of Heaven in the 3,000 great worlds? The struggle for the Son of Heaven poses no threat to the celestial spirit great world." Hearing Gu An's response, Xiao Lan felt an absolute confidence, the kind of confidence that completely disregarded the sons of heaven. She couldn't help but feel the curiosity that had arisen many times before. How high was Gu An's cultivation level? "Brother Gu, we haven't sparred in a long time. How about a match later?" Xiao Lan asked, her eyes burning as she stared at Guan. "Sure, but I won't go easy on you." Guan agreed, thinking that since Xiao Lan was eager, he would have to put her arrogance in check. Xiao Lan didn't take his threat to heart and began to look forward to the upcoming battle. It was sunset when Guan returned to the Daoist field of the beginningless. He was in a good mood, humming a tune. The thought of Xiao Lan's desperate expression made him want to laugh. This live Xiao Lan had extraordinary talent. After not encountering a worthy opponent for many years, she had strong confidence in her abilities. She didn't dare to hope to surpass Guan, but if Guan suppressed his cultivation level to the same realm, she felt she could put up a good fight. Unfortunately, Guan did not grant her wish, pressing her down the entire time. Before parting, Xiao Lan's eyes were full of resentment as she looked at him. It made Guan think about drawing her expression, as it would be quite interesting. As he walked, a figure appeared ahead, approaching Guan, Fairy Yao Xian. Guan smiled and greeted the approaching figure. Because Fairy Yao Xian was the Tao companion of the Emperor of Eternal Life, he did not take her as a disciple. This made the Wushiji disciples often speculate about the relationship between her and Guan. Fairy Yao Xian came up to Guan, raised her hand in salute, and then asked, "Do you think Zoyer can rival the primordial Tao Emperor and the Daoist Emperor?" With terrifying talent, although Zoe did not inherit his father's immortal emperor's eye, his talent and comprehension were not inferior to the Emperor of Eternal Life. Now, he was the second strongest disciple, second only to an Xian, with even the blood prison great saint not being his match. Guan pondered, there has never been such an existence in the past, but if he wants to try, it's not impossible. Perhaps he can forge a path unique to him. Fairy Yao Xian nodded and asked, "I want him to go to the primordial emperor domain to train. What do you think? You are his mother. You decide." "Why ask me?" Guan shook his head with a smile. Fairy Yao Xian looked at him steadily and pressed on, "You don't oppose?" Guan nodded, saying, "If he is willing, and you have plans for him, then let him go. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report, so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 778, Chaos Scripture. 2 days later, Sin stepped into the World Gate to pursue the primordial emperor domain. This matter did not cause much of a stir in the Daoist field of the beginningless. Guan could have sent Sin to the primordial emperor domain with a wave of his sleeve, but he did not do so and instead let Sin find it himself. Sin was full of anticipation for this. He had originally wanted to invite the Blood Prison Great Saint to join him, but unfortunately, the Blood Prison Great Saint adamantly refused. Sin's departure did not affect Guan's life. He continued writing the Taoist book about the dark god. Over millions of years, he did not write it in one go. He wrote when he felt like it, and when he didn't feel like writing, he took breaks, traveled the human world, and cultivated his temperament. He originally intended to only write about the dark god, but as he wrote, he included the mythological stories of the dark heavenly court from the dark god's memories, making the work increasingly voluminous. He was already looking forward to spreading these Taoist books throughout the human world. His casual gifts could greatly change the structure of the world. In fact, many of the top great cultivators in the human world had received his guidance and inheritance. Some of these great cultivators were aware of this and were filled with gratitude, while others had not yet realized this, attributing all their achievements to their own talent and destiny. Time continued to pass quickly. In the blink of an eye, 2 million years had passed. 2 million years were enough to change the world, but for the struggle for the Son of Heaven in the 3,000 great worlds, it was not a long time. The struggle for the Son of Heaven continued, and it was still unclear who had the hope of winning. In such a war situation, countless living beings perished. On the summit of Human World Peak, the heaven-defining peak, Guan was reminiscing with his old friend Baizia. Back then, when Guan first ventured into outer heaven, he met Baizia, who, like Hongya Zi of the misty immortal court, was very enthusiastic and even invited him to join Human World Peak. Before becoming invincible in the celestial spirit great world, Human World Peak had given Guan much help. Being nostalgic, he never severed ties with Human World Peak. Human World Peak did not know that he was the supporting Tao Sword Venerable, which made his stay very pleasant. For the past hundreds of thousands of years, Baizia had roamed outer heaven and gained much. Now, he was already a divine thought true immortal, capable of protecting himself in the outer void. As a living being from before the world was reshaped, his talent couldn't compare to today's geniuses, but he still grasped the world's opportunities, advancing rapidly in cultivation. Before the world was reshaped, with his talent, reaching the level of a divine thought true immortal would have taken much more than millions of years. That senior told me that other great thousand worlds are in unprecedented turmoil, with battles everywhere. Even beings beyond free immortals are like cannon fodder in such wars. Baizia sighed, having learned about the struggle for the Son of Heaven from a cultivator he befriended in the outer void, who had escaped from another great thousand world. Of course, he hadn't yet encountered the struggle for the Son of Heaven himself. He had only heard about the chaos it caused. Guan listened intently, feigning curiosity. Baizia, coming back to his senses, looked at Guan curiously and asked, "Fellow Taoist Meng, even though we've known each other for over 10 million years, I still don't know your true cultivation level and origin. Could you be from another great thousand world, having long foreseen today's catastrophe, and thus stayed in this human world?" Though they hadn't been very familiar, Baizia trusted Guan because Guan had been very responsible for heaven-defining peak, helping it rise to prominence, earning a great reputation. Guan shook his head and laughed, "I'm not as formidable as you think. My cultivation is just one great realm higher than yours. I have no enemies and nothing to avoid. It's just my nature, I'm not fond of conflict, and life at Human World Peak is pleasant to me." "Is that so?" Baizia was half believing, half doubting. Guan took out a blue-covered book from his sleeve and said, "I obtained this book during my travels overseas. It was given to me by a cultivator who called himself the Immortal Seeker Taoist. He said I would meet someone who was destined for this book. I've studied it for a long time and haven't found any clues. Why don't you take it and try?" Baizia accepted the book, looked at the cover, and read aloud, "Chaos Scripture?" Just the name sounded extraordinary. He immediately opened it to look inside and quickly frowned. He looked up at Guan and asked, "Why does this seem like a story rather than a cultivation technique or divine skill?" "Indeed, I found it puzzling as well. Anyway, I've remembered the stories inside, so I'll give you this book. If you also can't make sense of it, you can pass it on to someone else in the future." Guan replied. The Chaos Scripture was the Taoist book Guan had written based on the experiences of the Dark God. Although it seemed to be mere stories, it contained the Dark God's insights and Tao intent at various stages. In other words, the chaos scripture was equivalent to the lifetime insights of a Tao extreme Daluo immortal. Such an opportunity was difficult to come by, even for a celestial god. There were over 10,000 volumes of the chaos scripture, most of which had already been distributed by Guan in the human world. These chaos scriptures had already changed the future of the celestial spirit great world, leading to the birth of many beings who would surpass the heaven-encompassing free immortal and help the celestial spirit great world to reach the top level of great thousand worlds, comparable to the Tai Wei great world and the Tai Ching great world. Guan wasn't looking for anything in return, he just found it interesting and did what he wanted to do. When he met Bai Zia by chance, he handed him one of the volumes. Whether Bai Zia could grasp it depended on his own destiny. If he passed the chaos scripture on to someone else, it would mean that he wasn't destined for the opportunity. After flipping through a few pages, Bai Zia put the chaos scripture into his storage pouch, looked at Guan, and smiled. "Anyway, thank you for your gift. I will study it seriously when I return." He didn't think Guan had been fooled by the immortal seeker Daoist, as Guan was a free immortal. Guan smiled and nodded. The two chatted for another hour before Bai Zia took his leave. Shortly after he left, Zhu Xinglan, the first disciple of heaven-defining peak, came into Gu An's courtyard. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance had invited Human World Peak to be guests and attend a grand Tao lecture assembly covering the celestial spirit great world, with dozens of profound Yuan free immortals invited. It was said that even heaven-encompassing free immortals would appear. After receiving the invitation, Daoist monarch Yongnian, the master of Human World Peak, invited the masters of various peaks to join him. Guan had no interest in this and asked Zhu Xinglan to go in his place. Sarch * the novel, F. Iyer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Zhu Xinglan wasn't surprised. Guan had refused many such opportunities, silently wondering if his master even took heaven-encompassing free immortals seriously. Having been together for so many years, Zhu Xinglan always felt that his master had an extraordinary origin. Of course, he wasn't the only one. Daoist monarch Yongnian thought the same, which was why they tried hard to win Guan over, afraid he might leave. But they never connected Guan to the supporting Tao Sword Venerable, as everyone knew the supporting Tao Sword Venerable was in seclusion at the Daoist field of the beginningless. Little did they know, they had once suspected this, but Guan had erased their thoughts through invisible means, and they hadn't even noticed. After Zhu Xinglan left, Guan did not leave heaven-defining peak and began to gaze at the celestial vault. "Son of heaven, I hope you have some sense." Guan thought silently, seeing a son of heaven heading towards the celestial spirit great world. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 779, Xianyuan Human Venerable, merciful hanging old immortal. In the dim turbulence of the great Tao, a majestic fire phoenix was flapping its wings forward, and atop the phoenix's head stood two figures. One of them was Emperor Xianyuan Human Venerable. He wore a golden robe, emblazoned with a divine beast similar to a qilin, and a curtain pearl golden crown on his head, appearing like an emperor. Yet, with the fluttering of his robe, the air of transcendence and immortality was undeniable. His features were both handsome and elegant, and his brows exuded an aura of unrivaled arrogance, his posture equally imposing. Beside Xianyuan Human Venerable stood an aged immortal in a white robe, his back hunched, holding a peachwood staff with a peach blossom hanging from its top, emanating an aura of immortality and wisdom. Stroking his beard with narrowed eyes, he stared ahead. This was Immortal Elder Ci Xian, an immortal monarch who served Xianyuan Human Venerable, his cultivation level being that of a Miao Zhen Daluo immortal. "Your Highness, our journey to the celestial spirit great world may encounter unexpected changes," Immortal Elder Ci Xian spoke with a tone of concern. Xianyuan Human Venerable gazed ahead and said, "My struggle with the great immortal divine Yuan has reached a stalemate. If I do not seek new strength, I shall only become more passive." Hearing this, Immortal Elder Ci Xian sighed deeply. Sarch * the novel Fire, NE *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The battle had reached this point, and his unease grew stronger. At this critical juncture, there was the threat of Chaos Power's attack, which was truly unfavorable. Meanwhile, the clash between Xianyuan Human Venerable and the great immortal Divine Yuan could not be halted. Both sides were in a dilemma. I divined the celestial spirit, but the destiny I calculated was ordinary. Yet, comparing it with the past, it appears unusual. Most importantly, many immortal gods have gathered there, even Tai Immortal Monarch is present, Immortal Elder Ci Xian continued. Upon mentioning Tai Immortal Monarch, his eyes revealed coldness. They were both immortal monarchs, and the relationships between immortal monarchs were intricate. After all, everyone aimed to ascend, inevitably obstructing each other's path. Tai Immortal Monarch, huh? I heard he has been seeking Emperor Shenqing. If he remains in the celestial spirit great world, might Emperor Shenqing be hiding there? Xianyuan Human Venerable raised an eyebrow and asked. Mentioning Emperor Shenqing, his tone bore no change, as if referring to an insignificant person. Immortal Elder Ci Xian replied, Emperor Shenqing has already appeared in the Misty Immortal Court, which is operating to aid his return to the Celestial Court. Perhaps all this is Father Emperor's plan, Xianyuan Human Venerable snorted coldly, revealing a hint of jealousy in his tone. Immortal Elder Ci Xian shook his head with a wry smile, refraining from further comments, for he did not dare to continue this topic. Alright, since we're here, let's head to the Celestial Spirit Great World. Regardless, gaining the power of another great thousand world is always beneficial, Xianyuan Human Venerable stated solemnly, leaving Immortal Elder Ci Xian with no choice but to nod, though his gaze grew more uneasy as he looked ahead. He had a lingering feeling that their journey to the Celestial Spirit Great World would bring trouble. However, they were immortal gods, they would not perish, at most be sealed. Xianyuan Human Venerable, being the Son of Heaven, if sealed, the Celestial Court would quickly sense it. Following Xianyuan Human Venerable, he would not die, only endure suffering. The two immortals fell silent, and the fire phoenix beneath their feet began to accelerate. They traversed the turbulence of the great Tao, entering a realm of darkness. Deep within the darkness was a bright star, the only light guiding the fire phoenix forward. Before the world gate, the celestial spirit god, who was meditating and cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes. He stood up, gazing at the world gate, with tightly furrowed brows. He sensed an overwhelming celestial Tao destiny approaching, more intense than that of the Eternal Life Venerable, causing him to feel secretly alarmed. The Eternal Life Venerable is a supreme immortal. This meant the approaching being's immortal position was at least supreme immortal. His unease grew. The only entities capable of attracting a supreme immortal to the celestial spirit great world, besides Guan, were Tian Hao, who, though departed, was born in this great thousand world, with causes and effects that could not be erased. As he hesitated, a group of cultivators flew from the void behind him, numbering over 10, led by a man in a black robe. Qin Chuan was among them, his gaze fixed on the world gate. The group swiftly landed behind the celestial spirit god, respectfully bowing to him. Master, after careful consideration, we still believe that exploring other great thousand worlds through the world gate will better aid the development of the celestial spirit great world. If you have concerns, you may express them, and we can deliberate further. The black-robed man spoke. His name was Taiji Yuan, the Grand Hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, a heaven-encompassing free immortal. He was not a native of the celestial spirit great world, he hailed from another great thousand world. Taiji Yuan had become the Grand Hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance not solely due to his cultivation. During the years when the Dark Divine Sect ravaged, he saved countless beings and was even gravely injured by a dark heavenly god. His deeds had spread widely, making him a mythological war god in the human world. Behind him, the dozen cultivators were all hierarchs of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, as was Qin Chuan, and now the Sword Sect had merged with the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. The celestial spirit god did not respond to Taiji Yuan, nor did he turn around, leaving the hierarchs of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance puzzled and increasingly anxious. As Taiji Yuan was about to speak, the world gate suddenly emitted a dazzling light, startling them into widening their eyes and turning their heads. Before they could react, a vast pressure radiated from within the world gate, instinctively instilling reverence in Taiji Yuan and the others, causing them to kneel involuntarily, including Qin Xuan. Qin Xuan, upon kneeling, suddenly awakened. He attempted to rise but was shocked to find himself paralyzed. How could this be? It was Qin Xuan's first time experiencing such suppression. The pressure did not induce fear but rather an inherent sense of reverence and longing. Not just him, the others felt similarly. The celestial spirit god followed suit, half kneeling, with hands clasped in respect towards the world gate. A screech sounded from within the world gate, followed by a surge of fiery flames, immersing Taiji Yuan and the others in an inferno, rendering them unable to escape, only to watch anxiously. Amid the raging flames, two figures emerged from the radiant celestial Tao light, precisely Xianyuan human venerable and immortal elder Ci Xian. Seeing the two immortal gods, Taiji Yuan, Qin Xuan, and the others lowered their heads, unable to gaze upon the true forms of the immortal gods. At this moment, even their divine senses could not extend outward, filling them with awe from the depths of their souls. Who were these two? How could they evoke such an inconceivable response? Could it be they were also immortal gods? The voice of the celestial spirit god followed. Celestial spirit god greets your highness and immortal monarch. May I ask the reason for your highness' visit? Your highness? If the Son of Heaven addressed him as your highness, he was surely an immortal, with a status far superior to that of a celestial god. Qin Xuan pondered deep within, feeling uneasy. He wondered if the arrival of this immortal god would bring trouble to the celestial spirit great world. Celestial spirit god, right? I heard Ziwei Immortal mention you, Xianyuan human venerable's voice echoed, indifferent in tone. The celestial spirit god remained silent. Xianyuan human venerable continued, I have come to the celestial spirit great world merely to observe. No need to overthink or follow. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 780, Immortal Monarch Ambition. Hearing the words of Xianyuan human venerable, the celestial spirit god felt a sudden jolt in his heart. He could confirm that Xianyuan human venerable had come for Guan. Although he had been serving Guan, he did not know much about him. So powerful, yet not belonging to the celestial court. It was hard for the celestial spirit god to dismiss the possibility that Guan had a grudge against the celestial court. The Son of Heaven was different from other immortal gods. If the Son of Heaven was suppressed, it would be absolutely impossible for the celestial court to remain unaware for millions of years, like with Tai immortal monarch and the 72 immortals of Jin Dong. This is big trouble. The celestial spirit god's mind was in turmoil, but Xianyuan human venerable said no more, brushing past him. The celestial spirit god raised his head, his gaze meeting that of the old immortal Zixuan. He was so scared that he quickly lowered his head. The old immortal Zixuan cast a meaningful glance at the celestial spirit god, then silently followed Xianyuan human venerable. Taiji Yuan, Qin Xuan, and the others still could not raise their heads. When Xianyuan human venerable and the old immortal Zixuan passed by, their chi blood almost solidified, and even their souls trembled. At that moment, they felt an extreme agony, with every breath seeming as long as the 4 seasons. Only when the auras of Xianyuan human venerable and the old immortal Zixuan completely vanished did Taiji Yuan and the others feel relieved. They stood up, turned around, but could no longer see the figures of Xianyuan human venerable and the old immortal Zixuan. Taiji Yuan looked at the celestial spirit god, who had his back to them, and asked, Celestial god, who were those two just now? The celestial spirit god turned around, looking at them expressionlessly, and said, Do not inquire. This is a great cause and effect that you cannot entangle yourselves with. As for your request, I approve, but the quota is limited. Only 100 places every century, handle it yourselves. Hearing this, Taiji Yuan was overjoyed. He immediately bowed to the celestial spirit god and then took his leave. Chen Xuan and the others followed suit, quickly catching up with Taiji Yuan. The celestial spirit god stood still, watching them leave. At this moment, his heart was in great torment. He wanted to go and inform, but he knew that if he dared to leave the world gate, Xianyuan human venerable and the old immortal Xishuan would surely notice. However, on second thought, with Gu An's cultivation level, he would surely be aware of the arrival of these two immortal gods. His gaze fell upon the celestial spirit great world, which appeared so peaceful. The cause and effect and destiny of heaven and earth showed no changes, everything seemed so eerie. Sar the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The celestial spirit god sighed and then sat down to meditate. Meanwhile, in a group of pavilions among the mountains of the human world, Tai immortal monarch appeared out of thin air. The purple dragon star monarch followed, appearing by his side. This aura cannot be mistaken, the son of heaven has arrived. The purple dragon star monarch said solemnly, his face grim. Tai immortal monarch's eyes flickered but remained silent. The purple dragon star monarch looked at him and asked, "Don't we need to go see him? Not seeing the son of heaven will surely bring great trouble." Tai immortal monarch replied, "We can't go. Whether he's asking about the Emperor Shenqing or our Lord, it's not good to answer. He probably isn't here for us. Let's wait and see." He thought of Guan, and his heart immediately settled down. Intuition told him that Gu An's cultivation level and origins were unfathomable. Even if he did not belong to the celestial court, he definitely had enormous influence there. Otherwise, how could he dare to accept the Emperor Shenqing as a disciple? With Gu An's cultivation level, it was impossible not to see through the cause and effect of the Son of Heaven. After seeing through it, he still dared to take the Son of Heaven as a disciple. There was certainly more to it. Tai immortal monarch was very ambitious and bold. He thought of many possibilities and decided to take a gamble. After the dark god was destroyed, he was even more convinced of this. He thought Xianyuan human venerable would suffer a great loss on this trip. That's why he dared not to meet Xianyuan human venerable. Of course, on this matter, he would not explain thoroughly to the purple dragon star monarch. Although the 72 immortals of Jin Dong were under his command, he still retained his own hard eye. At the very least, ambition should not be displayed. Although the purple dragon star monarch had concerns, he had been following Tai immortal monarch for many years and had developed a habit of trust. He nodded and then turned to leave. Tai immortal monarch looked up at the celestial vault. He had a premonition that this contest for the Son of Heaven would be different from the past, more interesting, more dangerous, and also more opportunistic. In the next few days, the celestial spirit great world remained peaceful. The arrival of Xianyuan human venerable and the old immortal Xishuan did not stir up any waves. They first traveled in the human world, then flew to the nine-spirit continent. The nine-spirit continent had become a dojo, unable to be deduced, unable to be perceived, but because of the legends, the direction was known to the world. It was not difficult for the two immortal gods to find the nine-spirit continent. This day at noon. Over the ocean, Xianyuan human venerable and the old immortal Xishuan traveled on clouds. They had changed their robes, but still could not conceal their immortal aura. A bright red bird was perched on Xianyuan human venerable's shoulder, nodding its head. This continent is indeed strange. The old immortal Xishuan lamented. Even though he could see the spirit mist shrouding the nine-spirit continent, he still could not peer into the situation within. The existence that opened this dojo had a cultivation level far higher than his. Xianyuan human venerable remained expressionless, saying nothing. The two immortals quickly flew into the spirit mist, entering the nine-spirit continent. Passing through the rolling mist, a surge of majestic and fresh spiritual energy greeted them, causing Xianyuan human venerable to lose his composure, and the old immortal Xishuan's face changed drastically. Such robust Dao intent, the other party is at least a Dao extreme Daluo immortal, perhaps even beyond Daluo immortal. The old immortal Xishuan immediately made a judgment. Although his cultivation level was merely Miao Jin Daluo immortal, he had lived long, and with his status as an immortal god, he had even dealt with some Dao extreme Daluo immortals who did not belong to the celestial court. He had some understanding of Xian Qi primordial immortals. Xianyuan Human Venerable smiled and said, "This trip was not in vain. Do not lose decorum from now on." Hearing this, the old immortal Zixuan also smiled. He was afraid that Xianyuan Human Venerable would clash directly with the other party. Since Xianyuan Human Venerable came seeking more assistance, it would be best not to create conflict. Even if the discussions failed, they should not become enemies. Suddenly, a figure flew toward them. It was an Exian. Seeing an Exian, both Xianyuan Human Venerable and the old immortal Zixuan were surprised. This woman's cultivation level was very low, yet she could detect them immediately. What did this imply? It implied that an Exian had come in advance. It also implied that an Exian had a very close relationship with the master of the dojo. "I am an Exian, the chief disciple of Wuxia. My master sent me to invite the Son of Heaven and the immortal monarch to be our guests." An Exian arrived in front of the two immortals, raising her hand to salute them, speaking neither humbly nor arrogantly. She seemed very calm, but inside she was filled with curiosity. The Son of Heaven. The protagonist of the chaos in the 3,000 great worlds had actually come to Wuxia. Whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. However, even if the visitor had ill intentions, she believed that her master could handle it. She even somewhat looked forward to seeing the Son of Heaven suffer in front of her master. The old immortal Zixuan smiled and said, "Then please lead the way." An Exian nodded, then turned to fly toward the horizon. Xianyuan Human Venerable and the old immortal Zixuan followed closely behind, beginning to observe the state of the continent. Soon, they were surprised once more. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 781, Creation. Green Lotus. Xuan Yuan Human Venerable and Elder Ci Xian Immortal discovered that the nine-spirit continent had its own order, not entirely under the control of Ancestor Master Wuxia. Every living being here could cultivate and had the freedom to go out and train. The mystery contained within the myriad world gate was such that even they, as immortal gods, couldn't see through it. They were puzzled, unable to understand the intentions behind Ancestor Master Wuxia establishing this dojo. If it was to train a force, why allow people to leave? If it was for merit, why wasn't destiny forming? If it was for seclusion, why take in so many living beings? They were both amazed by the creation of Wuxia Dojo and curious about Ancestor Master Wuxi's purposes, which made them look forward even more to the upcoming meeting. An Exian didn't fly very fast, seemingly to intentionally leave them time to observe the nine-spirit continent. It took the time of one stick of incense before they actually entered Wuxia. After arriving in Wuxia, Xianyuan Human Venerable and Elder Ci Xian Immortal felt that the Tao intent here was richer than outside. They sensed the destiny of the Taoist Emperor and also felt the newly arisen primordial Tao Emperor fortune on the path of the great Tao. Under Nzin's guidance, they flew to a halfway point on the mountain, where a small pavilion was perched on a cliff. Inside the pavilion sat a man in white with his back to them. It was Guan. Seeing Guan from a distance, Xianyuan Human Venerable and Elder Ci Xian Immortal both were secretly startled. They couldn't capture Guan with their divine sense. Only when Guan came into their direct line of sight could they see him. This indicated the vast difference in their cultivation levels. An Exian stopped, gestured for them to enter the pavilion, then turned around and left. Xianyuan Human Venerable and Elder Ci Xian Immortal did not hesitate and swiftly entered the pavilion. "I am the Celestial Immortal Monarch, Elder Ci Xian Immortal, and this is the Son of Heaven, Xianyuan Human Venerable. Today we come to pay our respects to Ancestor Master Wuxia. I hope we are not disturbing the Master." Elder Ci Xian Immortal raised his hand in salute, smiling kindly, giving off a very amiable impression. Guan turned his head to look at them, smiled and nodded, gesturing for them to sit down. Seeing Guan's youthful and handsome appearance, the two immortal gods were not surprised. In the celestial court, some immortals maintain their youthful looks, some even in the form of children. However, many more feel that an aged appearance better reflects the air of accumulated time. Seeing Guan's expression and demeanor, they both secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At least from the first impression, Guan was not a difficult person to deal with. After they sat down, Guan picked up the wine pot, intending to pour wine for them, but Elder Xian Immortal hurriedly took it, saying he would do it. Guan smiled and didn't refuse. While immortal gods are arrogant, much depends on whom they face. The experiences along the way were enough to keep the two immortal gods from wielding airs in front of him. Seizing the moment while Elder Xian Immortal was pouring wine, Xianyuan Human Venerable spoke, "Our visit is to form an alliance with the Master and to understand the Master's view on the Son of Heaven competition." He was direct, and after speaking, he fixed his gaze on Guan. Guan smiled and said, "The Son of Heaven competition has nothing to do with me. I do not wish to interfere. I only want to stay in this great thousand world peacefully and seek enlightenment, and I hope this cause and effect does not drag this world into it." Hearing this, Xianyuan Human Venerable frowned. Elder Xian Immortal put down the wine pot and followed with, "Master, this Son of Heaven competition is different from previous contests, involving a great creation. The victor will gain the creation Green Lotus, and if our Lord wins, he is willing to share it with his followers." Creation Green Lotus. Although Guan had never heard of it, the name immediately made him glimpse numerous causes and effects. The creation Green Lotus is a great creation from chaos, containing unimaginable power. Obtaining the creation Green Lotus offers a chance for transcendence, and observing the creation Green Lotus also aids in enlightenment. These causes and effects converged, forming a powerful attraction that even a mixed element profound venerable immortal like him desired the creation Green Lotus. No wonder the Son of Heaven competition attracted so many immortal gods to join. Even with the dark heavenly court attacking, the celestial court did not interfere because it involved such a significant cause and effect. Guan asked, "Dare I ask, where does the creation Green Lotus come from?" Elder Xian Immortal replied, "It was bestowed by a celestial Tao Venerable. The form of the Son of Heaven competition itself has other intentions that the Master should understand." "I don't understand." Guan could already glimpse the causes and effects of the celestial court, but he could not fully see through all its causes and effects, especially the root cause and effect of the Son of Heaven competition. Elder Xian Immortal's answer made it difficult for him to follow up with further questions. Guan shook his head and said, "Thank you both for your kindness. The creation Green Lotus is indeed tempting, but I prefer peace and quiet, which is why I've secluded myself here." After hearing this, Xianyuan Human Venerable was about to speak when Elder Xian Immortal preempted him, saying, "In that case, we indeed cannot force it. May I ask the Master's opinion on Great Immortal Divine Yuan?" As long as Guan doesn't support Great Immortal Divine Yuan, it would be beneficial for them. There's no need to push Guan too hard, after all, they don't have the means to compel Guan's compliance. CTH Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Sons of Heaven are as numerous as stars, I have not paid attention before. Guan's answer disappointed Elder Xian Immortal, but he still followed Guan's words and began to introduce the background of Great Immortal Divine Yuan. Great Immortal Divine Yuan was born during the Celestial Emperor's reincarnation. His mother was from the Spirit Clan. The so-called Spirit Clan, unlike other living beings, was conceived from the lifeless existence of heaven and earth, such as sea of clouds, auroras, and green smoke. Such entities only develop spiritual intelligence if they encounter the great Tao, and once born, their comprehension of the Tao exceeds that of other races. After completing reincarnation, the Celestial Emperor brought Great Immortal Divine Yuan back to the Celestial Court and canonized him as a Son of Heaven. Before entering the Celestial Court, Great Immortal Divine Yuan was already 100,000 years old, enduring many hardships. The Celestial Emperor, feeling some sense of guilt, favored him greatly, allowing him to quickly grow into a Son of Heaven comparable to Xianyuan Human Venerable. Unlike Great Immortal Divine Yuan, Xianyuan Human Venerable was born in the celestial court. His mother was a ruler of a realm. He had a distinguished birth, but to satisfy the celestial emperor, he underwent reincarnation in the human world. The so-called Human Venerable refers to his achievements. Every time he reincarnated, he unified the human race and led various worlds' human race to prosperity. He faced failures and successes, and after countless reincarnations, he earned the title of Xianyuan Human Venerable. This Son of Heaven competition was initiated by Great Immortal Divine Yuan challenging Xianyuan Human Venerable, which Xianyuan Human Venerable found offensive, arousing the indignation of his supporting immortal gods. Great Immortal Divine Yuan has no achievements, relying on His Majesty's favoritism to initiate the Son of Heaven competition. He believes he can gain the Celestial Tao Venerable's recognition, but he underestimates the complexity. Elder Ci Xian Immortal said seriously. These words pleased Xianyuan Human Venerable, and he slightly lifted his chin. Guan suddenly asked, since Great Immortal Divine Yuan has the Celestial Emperor's favor, how do you have confidence in facing this challenge? Even if you win, will he really lose? Upon hearing this, Xianyuan Human Venerable's face turned grim. Elder Ci Xian Immortal's expression also became somewhat awkward. He followed up, His Majesty is currently in seclusion. This might be an opportunity to bring Great Immortal Divine Yuan down to the mortal realm, an opportunity that has appeared before. Emperor Xianqing was abandoned by His Majesty under similar circumstances. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 782, A Doomed Ending. Upon hearing the elderly immortal mention Emperor Xianqing, who is in Hao's true identity, Gu An's expression did not change in the slightest. Since you guys have made up your mind, then I wish you all good luck, Guan raised his wine cup and said with a soft smile. As long as Xianyuan Human Venerable did not force him, he would treat him as a friend. If compelled, Guan wouldn't mind teaching him a lesson. In the celestial court, apart from the court itself, only a few celestial Tao venerables can reach the rank of primordial profound venerable immortal. This was Gu An's confident source. Even if the celestial court were to invade, he could move the 9-spirit continent away with a single thought. If he desired, he could even take the celestial spirit great world with him and flee to the depths of chaos. The heavenly Tao is vast, with an all-encompassing destiny, but regardless of how expansive the heavenly Tao is, it cannot surpass the great Tao, always leaving places untouched by it. Xianyuan Human Venerable narrowed his eyes, staring intently at Guan, while the elderly immortal did not know what to say, raising his cup to drink with Guan in silence. While drinking, the elderly immortal gave Xianyuan Human Venerable a glance, signaling him not to act rashly. At least Guan did not show any favor toward the Great Immortal Divine Yuan. Though recruiting him failed, it should not lead to enmity. Afterward, Guan and the elderly immortal started chatting idly, no longer discussing the contention over the throne but talking about all heavens and myriad realms. Xianyuan Human Venerable remained silent, seemingly drinking gloomily by himself. After a long while, the elderly immortal sighed, Master, you eradicated the dark god in this realm, which is a great merit, enough to place you in the immortal class. Why not go to the celestial court and become an immortal official? He was probing Gu An's opinion of the celestial court. Guan smiled and shook his head. Since being an immortal official requires a position, I prefer my current life, unrestrained. Moreover, staying in this realm allows me to handle any disasters here. If I were to go to the celestial court, I might not be able to solve the problems it faces. Besides, one of my disciples has already entered the immortal class, fulfilling my desire to ascend to immortality. Hearing this, the elderly immortal raised an eyebrow, asking, Oh? Which disciple are you referring to? Guan answered, his name is Yang Jian. He was recommended for immortality by Eternal Life Venerable. Eternal Life Venerable. A subtle change appeared in the eyes of Xianyuan Human Venerable and the elderly immortal. The elderly immortal did not inquire further but praised Yang Jian's extraordinary talent, suggesting it was why Eternal Life Venerable endorsed him. The conversation between the two continued to shift topics until dusk when the elderly immortal stood up to bid farewell. Before leaving, Xianyuan Human Venerable finally spoke. Master, you seem to doubt me, but I will show you my victory. When I succeed, you are still welcome to support me and even share the creation green lotus. Xianyuan Human Venerable stared at Guan, his gaze burning with unwavering confidence, brimming with an air of unchallengeable dominance. Guan smiled, "Thank you, Your Highness, I will wait to see you laugh last." Xianyuan Human Venerable's mouth curved upward, and he departed with the elderly immortal. Guan stood up, turned to look at the distant celestial vault, watching them leave. Under his gaze, the fate of the struggle for the throne had already changed. From beginning to end, Xianyuan Human Venerable and the elderly immortal did not harbor hostility towards Guan, nor did they become causal enemies, which explained Guan's favorable attitude. In truth, compared to the great immortal divine Yuan, Guan hoped more for Xianyuan Human Venerable to win because the great immortal divine Yuan fabricated demon god bodies and mobilized the Mo Luo clan for battle. Regardless of how one viewed it, it seemed quite sinister, raising suspicion that it might be related to chaos. Xianyuan Human Venerable, on the other hand, led heavenly soldiers and generals, with no trace of chaos evil demon, nor did he offer mortal spirits as sacrifices. In terms of conduct, Xianyuan Human Venerable was more upright. Nonetheless, it was unfortunate. Even with the change in fate, Xianyuan Human Venerable would still lose. Zhang Buku fought for Xianyuan Human Venerable, leaving Guan to consider how to save him. Zhu Zai's position in the Taiwei Great World remained favorable toward the great immortal divine Yuan, and even if she consciously withdrew, it would be futile. Fortunately, her ending was good, allowing her the chance to enter the immortal class. In the future, more old acquaintances would enter the immortal class, and all because of Guan. Without him, Zhang Buku and Zhu Shi wouldn't have come this far. Even with Zhu Zai's former status as Xingtian. Regardless of Shengshan's strong Fuyuan, escaping the 3,000 great worlds was challenging. Guan did not find these matters troublesome, as he also gained insights into the path of cause and effect throughout this process. Next comes the projection. The path of enlightenment must not be halted. Guan pondered silently with a smile on his face. Allowing the 3,000 great worlds to remain in constant turmoil while quietly growing stronger amidst the celestial court's indifference, this feeling, even after tens of thousands of years, remained wondrous. No one knew his true strength, underlying his continuous growth, without limits, savored only by him. On the other side, Xianyuan Human Venerable and the elderly immortal arrived in outer heaven, flying toward the world gate. "Your Highness, do you really intend to recruit him?" the elderly immortal asked curiously. Xianyuan Human Venerable gazed ahead, replying, "Indeed, the creation of 9 spirit continent and the condition of celestial spirit great world have given me a good impression of him. He is a truly enlightened person, seeing through red dust, controlling his desires. Such a person is more suited for immortality. The current celestial court is tainted with too many unscrupulous immortals, tarnishing its image, which I am very dissatisfied with. Unfortunately, my abilities are insufficient to change this." The elderly immortal sighed. "Ancestor Master Wuxia certainly has the demeanor of an enlightened one, but even with your victory, I believe he would not come, nor be swayed by the creation green lotus." Xianyuan Human Venerable did not dispute, nor did he respond further. The 2 immortal gods quickly vanished into the depths of the void. Their arrival and departure went unnoticed by the masses. Taiji Yuan, Chen Xuan, and others knew but were unaware of their identities, marking this encounter with a mysterious touch in their hearts. Time flows like a great river, it rushes forward, never to return. The 3,000 great worlds remain embroiled in constant battles, whereas the celestial spirit great world continues in peace. The celestial Tao light layer enveloping the great world continuously expands, symbolizing the strengthening trend of immortal cultivation in this realm. CTH Novel, F. Iyer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Besides the celestial spirit great world, many other planes remain peaceful, even silent. For instance, the river of Great Tao, where each of the 3,000 Great Tao has its own river, existing independently from the worlds, only discovered through enlightenment. In the darkness, the river of destiny radiates seven-colored glow, dazzlingly beautiful, threads of Tao Qi traversing its surface. Deep within the river of destiny, a figure emitting silver light was seated in meditation. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, revealing a pair of cold eyes with countless stars subtly flickering within. He was Lu Qiuxian, trapped in the river of destiny. Lu Qiuxian slowly spoke, "You're here again. Do you think you have the strength to defeat me now? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 783, Eternal Tao Extreme. As Lu Qiuxian's voice fell, a figure slowly emerged from the mist of the great Tao ahead. This figure was extremely tall and imposing, towering over Lu Qiuxian like a mountain. From its shape, it seemed to be draped in a large robe, the embroidered robe fluttering like blazing flames. "Lu Qiuxian, your will has already become an obsession that limits you." A voice echoed from the mist of the great Tao, loud and reverberating without end. Lu Qiuxian looked at the figure and asked, "What? Joining the Eternal Tao Extreme will rid me of this obsession?" The Eternal Tao Extreme is the future, the belonging of the great Tao. It's your only path. If you refuse to submit, how will you find your reincarnated father while you stay in the river of destiny? Upon hearing this, a cold gleam flashed in Lu Qiuxian's eyes. At this moment, the majestic figure stepped out from the mist of the great Tao. It was a burly man dressed in a dark red robe, his black hair flowing freely, his face stern, and his gaze oppressive. Standing at the edge of the great Tao mist, he resembled an embodiment of darkness, oppressive and terrifying. Facing his gaze, Lu Qiuxian's expression did not change. He slowly stood up, and a powerful aura erupted from within him. "Emperor Jiuyin, let me see if you can escape from my grasp again." As soon as Lu Qiuxian spoke, thousands of sword qi burst forth, dispersing the surrounding mist of the great Tao. However, a protective shield appeared around Emperor Jiuyin, blocking the sword qi attacking from all directions, and the residual sword qi in the air seemed to shatter the space around him. Seeing Emperor Jiuyin easily deflect his attack, a change flickered in Lu Qiuxian's eyes. He could sense that Emperor Jiuyin had already transformed, making him feel unfathomable. It seems a fierce battle awaits. 50,000 years had passed in the human world since the departure of Xianyuan human venerable and elder Zixuan. The number of free immortals in the celestial spirit great world increased by nearly 30%, with more Daoist Zhang Zizai immortals and profound Yuan free immortals. While no new heaven-encompassing free immortals had been born, it was close. On this day, on a mountaintop in the Daoist field of the beginningless, Guan stood at the peak, gazing into outer heaven. He witnessed a world-shattering battle in the River of Destiny, where Lu Qiuxian and Emperor Jiuyin battled for days before Lu Qiuxian was captured by Emperor Jiuyin. As Emperor Jiuyin left along the River of Destiny, Guan saw a path he had never discovered before. This path was magical, leading to the 3,000 Great Tao River. It did not always exist, appearing intermittently and hard to capture. Following this path to its end, Guan's vision was blocked by a layer of dense destiny, making him feel as if he was facing the celestial court. Could such a powerful force really hide within the Great Tao? From Guan's perspective of Tao practice, the end of this path did not belong to chaos or the heavenly Tao but existed independently, extremely complex. Just as Emperor Jiuyin was about to fly into the temporal brilliance at the end of the path, Guan took a step, crossing countless universes and arriving behind Emperor Jiuyin along the River of Destiny. Pa! A hand landed on Emperor Jiyin's shoulder, forcing him to stop. His eyes widened as he instinctively turned to see Guan from the corner of his eye. Emperor Jiyin's figure was 10,000 feet tall, but Guan did not seem small behind him. Guan's body shone with silver light, just like Lu Qiuxian. Even so close, Emperor Jiuyin could not clearly see his true form. "Who are you?" Emperor Jiuyin asked in a deep voice. However, Guan did not answer him. An extremely terrifying divine sense burst into his mind, blanking his consciousness and scattering his gaze. While performing a soul search, Guan seized the white jade gourd from his hand. The gourd contained many beings, with Lu Qiuxian just one of them, all of whom roamed the river of the Great Tao. Suddenly, Guan's divine sense encountered a powerful resistance, abruptly destroying Emperor Jian's soul and obliterating his life force, preventing Guan from extracting his lifespan. He withdrew his divine sense, watching Emperor Jian turn to ashes before him. He looked ahead at the temporal brilliance, feeling apprehensive. Sir, the novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The Eternal Tao Extreme is truly extraordinary. At 10,000 feet tall, he appeared tiny before the temporal brilliance, like a grain of sand. He took a deep look ahead and then turned, stepping along the river of destiny and disappearing within a few steps. Not long after he left, the temporal brilliance began to shrink until it disappeared. Guan arrived at the place where Lu Qiuxian used to meditate and opened the white jade gourd, releasing Lu Qiuxian first. A silver light flew out from the gourd's mouth, landing in front of Guan and manifesting into Lu Qiuxian's figure. Lu Qiuxian opened his eyes, stunned upon seeing Guan. He had never met Guan, but for some reason, he felt a sense of familiarity. He had once talked to Guan while standing in the river of destiny and during his time in the celestial spirit great world. At that time, Guan was still weak, merely piquing his curiosity. Now, standing before Lu Qiuxian, Guan's true form was indiscernible to him, filling Lu Qiuxian with caution. Guan tossed the white jade gourd in his hand to Lu Qiuxian and said, "The Eternal Tao Extreme will come again. I can give you a chance to break free from the river of destiny." He had long wanted to help Lu Qiuxian, once making the primordial crystal, symbolizing the primordial Tao Emperor, appear before him. Unfortunately, Lu Qiuxian did not care at all. Lu Qiuxian did not respond but instead asked, "Who are you, and why do you want to help me? Is it important?" "Of course, it's important." Lu Qiuxian's words rendered Guan silent. He had thought of saying he was a friend of Lu Han, but Lu Han died early, having no chance to meet such a powerful being. No matter how much a friendship might mature, such an answer was unconvincing. "Breaking free from the river of destiny may help you better pursue your obsession," Guan urged once more. Lu Qiuxian shook his head and said, "Only by staying here can I fulfill my obsession." For some reason, the sense of familiarity in his heart grew stronger, causing ripples in his state of mind. Even in defeat to Emperor Jian, his heart had never been so tumultuous. Guan asked, "Reincarnation has order. Your father reincarnated 1,000, 10,000 times, walking his own path. Even if you find him, then what? Do you think you can restore the father-son relationship? Is he really still your father?" Lu Qiuxian stared at Guan and said, "I seek him, not just for the father-son bond, but for an answer." "What answer?" "Perhaps my father has a more complex cause and effect background." Hearing this, Guan looked at Lu Qiuxian with newfound respect. Though the river of destiny bound Lu Qiuxian's fate, making it impossible for Guan to hear his inner thoughts, this statement revealed that Lu Qiuxian's wait for Lu Han was indeed not simply for the father-son bond. However, regarding lifespan reincarnation, Guan did not wish to disclose it to anyone, even his own reincarnation Buddha's son. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Since then, Guan noticed Lu Qiuxian's ties with the river of destiny were severing, as he was becoming an independent existence. Seeing that Lu Qiuxian had no intention of seeking him, he was reassured. No matter how Lu Qiuxian guessed, as long as it didn't affect Guan, it was fine. He could consider favorably protecting Lu Qiuxian, due to their father-son bond in reincarnation, but would never acknowledge him. In truth, he owed nothing to Lu Qiuxian. Lu Han had already revived Lu Qiuxian at the cost of his life. The only reason he continued to pay attention was to resolve Lu Han's regret. By integrating Lu Han's memories, it was as if he had truly lived through Lu Han's life, experiencing all of Lu Han's emotions. Time marched forward, like the river of the great Tao, endlessly flowing forward, never stopping, never looking back. In his spare time, Guan would observe the struggle for the Son of Heaven. The great immortal divine Yuan faction occupied more and more of the great thousand world, while the strength of the Mo Luo clan and the demon god body intensely intimidated all worlds, even birthing shocking legends of immortal gods being torn apart by demon gods. This battle, which had lasted millions of years, finally began to tilt, but it was still early to conclude. Xianyuan human venerable would not sit idly by. Once one side of the great thousand world was completely devoured, it would be the battle for the Son of Heaven. In a power struggle, the call and strategy of the Son of Heaven were tested, while the final battle for the Son of Heaven was a testament to one's own strength. According to Elder Sichuan, a power struggle determined victory and defeat. Even if one's personal strength was lacking, winning still counted. However, if the Son of Heaven fought personally, it was a matter of dignity. Should both sides lose, the loser would face eternal doom. Over the long years, the celestial spirit great world developed steadily. Although there were conflicts and wars, the overall world order remained peaceful. Each generation of cultivators surpassed the previous ones in talent. A blink of an eye. 3 million years passed. Guan's lifespan income grew steadily every year, reaching over 1.4 trillion years of lifespan. He planned to continue saving, then break through in one go from the mid-stage of primordial profound venerable immortal to the perfect realm of primordial profound venerable immortal. In these years, Zhu Shi, Xin, Liya, Lv Xian, and others encountered troubles, but he would step in. Zhang Buku had become a heavenly soldier, his ability to revive after death saving Guan a lot of worry. Liya, Lv Xian, Qin Xuan, and others were drawn into the struggle for the Son of Heaven after leaving the celestial spirit great world, while Xin wandered in the primordial emperor domain for years, having his own entanglements. Their lives were all very exciting, and Guan found it quite interesting to watch. Compared to the life of immortal cultivation, Guan preferred experiencing the life of a mortal. He even married and had children, fulfilling normal, complete lifetimes. When life ended, and he reincarnated, he wouldn't take mortal cause and effect out with him. It was a rule he set before entering the mortal world. On this day, after picking medicinal herbs, Guan returned to his mortal life. He walked along the streets towards his courtyard. In this life, he was a constable with a leisurely job, leading a peaceful life. He was not a justice-driven, ever-enthusiastic chivalrous hero, just an ordinary constable earning a living to support his family. Along the way, acquaintances greeted him from time to time, making life look no different from that of a mortal. He enjoyed this feeling, which allowed his mind to find peace. Though it seemed he was experiencing the red dust, he was actually observing heaven and earth from the minutiae, thereby attaining enlightenment. Just as he arrived at the courtyard gate, a young woman ran out, taking his arm and smiling, "Husband, I am pregnant." "Really?" Guan pretended to be pleasantly surprised, then reached out to touch the young woman's belly. In the red dust, he had taken many wives and concubines. Cause and effect could dissipate in reincarnation, but as he experienced the red dust with his true body, it wasn't suitable for him to leave bloodlines. After all, the cause and effect of bloodlines could continue. Therefore, each lifetime's children were new souls created by the path of creation. Creating the souls of mortal spirits was not difficult for Guan now. He made sure these children didn't inherit his bloodline and soul's cause and effect, they were just children of his current identity in each lifetime. These children were essentially in their first lifetime, destined to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Guan's understanding of the path of creation deepened. The couple was very happy, and Guan decided to cook personally to celebrate his wife's pregnancy. Besides them, there was his wife's old father, also Guan's master, a former old constable who had lost a leg in the process of driving out a demon entering the city. Now, he could only stay in the yard. Due to his own experience, the old constable often advised Guan not to be too headstrong. He had lost a leg for his duty back then. The government office abandoned him directly, and the family he saved moved away the next day without even thanking him out of fear. Just as smoke rose from the courtyard's hearth, a meteor streaked across the celestial vault, falling into the distance. Standing by the stove, Groom raised an eyebrow and muttered to himself, "Have they traced it to this world? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 785, Emperor Ziwei. The vast blue sky was magnificent, and a meteor wreathed in flames streaked across the celestial vault, hurtling towards the earth. It swept past mountain peaks along its path, crashing into the mountains, causing the entire ground to quake. Mushroom cloud-like plumes of dust surged upward, rocks flew wildly, and trees were swept away like dust to distant lands. The terrifying impact destroyed everything in its wake. The heavens and earth roared, the tumult continuing for a long time. As the waves of dust settled, a figure slowly emerged from the billowing dust. It was a man dressed in purple robes, walking amidst the ruins, his hair flowing, revealing a handsome face. His brows and eyes were cold and proud, with a slender purple line on his forehead, making him appear otherworldly, as though an immortal god had descended to the mortal world. Even the dust couldn't conceal the glow of his purple jade crown. The man in purple clothes walked forward while gazing into the distance, muttering to himself, "The changes in this world are truly vast." Before he could go far, a figure appeared in the Madeira ahead. It was none other than Tai, immortal monarch. Sar the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Tai, immortal monarch, looked at the man in purple from afar, raised his hand in greeting, and asked, "Emperor Ziwei, long time no see. I wonder what brings you to this world." The man addressed as Emperor Ziwei smiled and replied, "Tai, immortal monarch, does this realm fall under your jurisdiction now? Though it is not under my control, you didn't enter through the proper world gate and chose to cross through the celestial Tao light layer. That might violate the celestial rules." Tai, immortal monarch, stared at Emperor Ziwei with a meaningful expression. Emperor Ziwei maintained his smile. "I have yet to do anything. How have I offended the celestial rules? On the contrary, you, having stayed in this realm for so many years, isn't that neglecting your duty?" The two celestial beings were at odds. The winds and waves seemed to freeze, and as their gazes locked, neither showed any fear. After a long silence, Tai, immortal monarch, broke the stillness. "If you do not explain your presence, then I must stop you. Once we clash, our cultivation levels will alert the celestial court, and none of us will benefit. You know this, yet you still wish to impede me? We should each go our own way, shouldn't we?" Emperor Ziwei sneered coldly. As he spoke, he raised his right hand, a purple light burst forth from his palm, and a purple jade staff appeared in his grip. This action already conveyed his stance. Tai, immortal monarch, did not expect Emperor Ziwei to be so unyielding, which made things difficult for him. At this moment, Emperor Ziwei's expression changed drastically. A horrifying killing intent enveloped him, solidifying the mana within his body. He felt he might be annihilated at any moment. Even though he could resurrect, facing such killing intent still made him tremble. He quickly drew the purple jade staff back into his body, and as he retracted the magical treasure, the terrifying killing intent vanished, allowing him to breathe a sigh of relief. Tai, immortal monarch, didn't know what Emperor Ziwei had experienced. He didn't feel the killing intent, but he could sense the change in Emperor Ziwei's aura. "Right, no need to escalate this. Since the immortal monarch wishes to guard this realm, I should not further disturb you." Emperor Ziwei smiled again, bowed to Tai, immortal monarch, and then turned to leave. As he lifted his right foot, he disappeared from sight. Tai, immortal monarch, sensed Emperor Ziwei entering the celestial Tao light layer toward outer heaven. Emperor Ziwei's departure seemed even quicker than his arrival. Tai, immortal monarch, mused, immediately thinking of Groom, and couldn't help but shake his head with a chuckle. He bowed in the direction of Nine Spirit Continent, and then turned to leave. Meanwhile, Groom, still in the mortal world, watched Emperor Ziwei's departure. "Emperor Ziwei, this immortal god, was inextricably linked to Enhao's birth. Back then, celestial spirit immortal venerable stole the world punishment Dao Pearl from Ziwei Immortal Palace, and within that pearl was Enhao's original divine soul. Which means, this immortal has connections with Emperor Xianqing and Eternal Life Venerable, likely in the same faction. However, Emperor Ziwei carried the aura of Eternal Dao Extreme. Guan was certain he did not come for Enhao, but for something else. Fortunately, Emperor Ziwei had not become his mortal enemy. Perhaps due to their vast difference in cultivation, Emperor Ziwei dared not show disrespect toward him. Or maybe, could it be that Emperor Ziwei's joining of the Eternal Dao Extreme was orchestrated by the Celestial Court? Guan wondered as he cooked. Having no grievance with the Eternal Dao Extreme, there was no need to make enemies prematurely. Even if he were to make enemies, he needed to understand the relationship between Eternal Dao Extreme and the Celestial Court. With these thoughts set aside, Guan focused on his cooking. Until nightfall, the courtyard echoed with their laughter of three. The anticipation for the future made them seem very happy. Guan knew their future was not bright. As long as he retained his current identity and power, he could not prevent the impending tragedy. Over the long years, Guan had experienced various lives. The only thing he could control was not committing evil, yet the world always had its dark corners, and even without committing evil, retribution would come. The moon set, the sun rose. Chapter 786, True or False, Ask Yourself, Bring Him In. Guan responded and Nzazai immediately went to fulfill the task. He already knew who the visitor was and what his intention was. Nowadays, people whom he would meet in person were almost all old friends from his time at the Supreme Sect. Those old friends who were not with him were living through their own lives, facing hardships and enjoying happiness. Not everyone could receive his covert protection. After approximately half an incense stick's duration, Nzazai brought a person into the courtyard. This man wore plain Daoist robes, had a strong build, a rugged face, and exuded the aura of a martial world hero. This person's appearance was somewhat similar to Li Yas, but he looked more weathered. He was Li Yas' younger brother, Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian had once cultivated in the Third Medicine Valley, had a great relationship with Yang Jian, and had now achieved the cultivation level of divine thought true immortal realm. In the past, he had the talent to surpass Liya, but now, Liya had become an existence he looked up to, becoming the legend of their Li family. Li Lingtian looked at Gu An's silhouette, trembling with excitement, his eyes even reddened. And Zazai hesitated whether he should leave, but then Gu An's voice came, Zazai, you should listen too, you'll be responsible for assisting him later. Upon hearing this, Zazai breathed a sigh of relief and immediately agreed. He was very curious about the relationship between Li Lingtian and Guan. Hearing that he could go out on a mission made him secretly delighted. Nowadays, he managed all affairs of Wuxia, and couldn't avoid fatigue. A trip outside would be a bit of relaxation. Upon hearing Gu An's immediate offer to help, Li Lingtian could no longer control his emotions and knelt on the ground with a thud. Senior, I have come for Yang and I. You should still remember her. She offended a great cultivator of the Heavenly Spirit Dao Alliance and is imprisoned within the alliance. She was wronged, but I can't find anyone to help, not even my father has such power. Li Lingtian said through gritted teeth. The Yang and I he mentioned was Li Yas' mother's sister, who had once joined the ephemera sect to investigate the cause of Li Yas' mother's death, and had also been sent by Li Xiandao to protect Guan. Guan had not seen her for many years, but he still remembered the valiant woman in his mind. Li Lingshan's voice choked with emotion as he narrated grievances, no longer displaying the self-confident demeanor of his youth. Guan turned around, looking calmly at Li Lingtian, listening to his tale of grievances. Before Li Lingshan's arrival, Guan had already seen through the cause and effect at a glance. It was nothing more than a struggle of interests. Chapter 790, Unbelievably Powerful Immortal Monarch Xuanmiao. The hundreds of cultivators surrounding Liya felt a thrill upon hearing that the opponent claimed to be from the celestial court and even an immortal monarch. They all rose and focused intently on immortal monarch Xuanmiao, who was enveloped in a strong light, their eyes filled with anticipation. Immortal gods, even if not compassionate enough in the hearts of cultivators, still have their responsibilities, especially in the fight against evil demons. Since ancient times, immortal gods have never been lenient in opposing outer heaven demons, which is also why the 3,000 great worlds still aspire to ascend to immortality. The human world is full of incense for immortal gods. The mysterious evil demon holding the hundreds of cultivators didn't respond. He raised his left hand, and rolling demonic chi appeared out of thin air, surging continuously, finally condensing into a long weapon, much like a spear, only the spearhead resembled the head and neck of a fierce beast, terribly frightening. Search * the novel Fire. Enter website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. All the cultivators sensed that a great battle was about to erupt. Even the heaven-balancing golden immortal realm yellow-robed elder held his breath in concentration. Immortal monarch Xuanmiao strode forward from the powerful light of the heavenly Tao, his aura continuously rising, causing the dark void to present a twisted scene of purple and red. Even though being suppressed in the palm of the evil demon, the cultivators could feel the powerful aura of immortal monarch Xuanmiao, which was not even inferior to that of the evil demon. Liya was so shocked that he was left speechless. Immortal monarch Xuanmiao's form overlapped with the Li Xuanmiao in his memory, the two of them being from the same family, though Li Xuanmiao had cultivated in Mount Sanqing since childhood, leading to an unfamiliar relationship between them, yet they had met quite a few times. Has Li Xuanmiao ascended to immortality? How is that possible? Liya suddenly realized he hadn't seen Li Xuanmiao in many years. But something didn't feel right. How could these years be enough for someone to ascend to immortality and become so powerful? He couldn't understand it and even felt on the verge of collapse. It wasn't jealousy of Li Xuanmiao. He just felt that his own talent and opportunities seemed like a joke. Since leaving the Taicang continent, he hadn't slackened for nearly 20 million years. He didn't know how many times he had narrowly escaped death, and the opportunities he had obtained were extraordinary, causing those around him at that time to marvel, believing he was the child of destiny. But now, compared to Li Xuanmiao, what counted as his achievements? Just by sensing Li Xuanmiao's aura, he felt he couldn't measure up at all. Before it was Guan, now it's another clan brother. At this moment, he forgot life and death, only staring blankly at Li Xuanmiao's approaching figure. Li Xuanmiao also conjured a divine weapon with dragon chi coiling around it in his hand. Since you refuse to cease, then meet your end. Li Xuanmiao's voice rang out again, and as his words fell, he fiercely thrust forward with his spear. A terrifying torrent of mana exploded, lighting up the entire void, depriving hundreds of cultivators of color in their vision. Liya instinctively closed his eyes. His divine sense couldn't extend as it felt scorching pain once it left his body, frightening him into hastily retracting it. Unable to see, he felt the world spinning, and the ground beneath him trembled violently. After a good while, Liya heard a rumbling sound in his ears, gradually able to open his eyes. What he saw was a magnificent battle scene reflected in his eyes, making him open his mouth unconsciously. Not only him, but the other cultivators were experiencing the same. They were all bound to the ground, unable to detach from it, which prevented them from falling. In their vision, the external void rotated quickly, causing dizziness, with demonic chi and golden flames interweaving, forming various spectacular scenes, like a kaleidoscope. Li Xuanmiao and the mysterious evil demon had already started battling. Li Xuanmiao displayed his Dharma aspect, his form not inferior to the mysterious evil demon in the slightest. Both wielded their divine weapons with incredible speed, divine skills moving effortlessly, without the need to cast a spell. Various Dharma aspects and divine skills collided, shaking the void. Soon, the void shattered, and the surging wind of the great Tao swept them into deeper darkness. The heavenly Tao's strong light on Li Xuanmiao was so bright, illuminating the cultivators, none of whom spoke, engrossed in watching the battle nervously. Powerful, inconceivable. This was everyone's impression. The momentum of those divine skills was not only magnificent but also incomprehensible to them. As Li Xuanmiao swung his spear, it spun, causing slices of heaven and earth to shoot out along the spear's body, colliding with the mysterious evil demon. The mysterious evil demon seemed to have invisible clones, causing the Jin Qi around Li Xuanmiao to be continuously impacted. In the midst of battle, the mysterious evil demon would sometimes open its mouth, releasing countless demons that charged forward one after another toward Li Xuanmiao. They were actually able to penetrate the celestial Dao flame and land on Li Xuanmiao's armor. Li Xuanmiao frowned slightly. Although he could disperse the demons on his body, he could feel a power of cause and effect eroding his mana. While he hadn't fallen into a disadvantaged position, he couldn't suppress the mysterious evil demon in a short time either.